pretty essential. Okay, and at the very last minute, they realised that the VAT deal that they'd struck between the EU and the UK did not include sanitary products. So Boris was like, "Oh no, well, no, we can't do this." And then the EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, basically went, no. So Boris called Jean-Claude Juncker twice personally off his mobile phone and went, "Look, Jean-Claude, all right, let's do this." And in the end, they managed to come up with an agreement. So tampons did not manage to stop our Brexit deal. It's time we got it done.
Well, we started our show talking about tampons. We're going to move on to a little bit of sport in about 30 seconds.
Love sport.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m.
What a day.
You're a happy man this morning.
What a day.
Really, really happy. See, I told you it'd always get sorted.
Yeah.
This is why I put absolutely zero focus on the issue, because I knew it's not
Boris Johnson.
Bojo, but they call him Bojo, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I knew it'd get sorted.
Yeah. Well, that was why you were just so cool, calm and collected about it. You've always been the Iceman when it comes to Brexit, Rich.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Bojo. Sport. Let's talk some sport. So, what is going on in the world of sport?
Well, apparently Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got the backing, again, of Manchester
Why
United.
is he getting
board.
backed every single day?
Well, I'll tell you why. The 3 ticks, mate. 3 ticks. He's instilled discipline. He respects the club's history.
Yeah.
And he picks United kids.
Yeah.
Be weird if he picked anybody else's, wouldn't it? And now United have picked Phil Foden in midfield.
We're not quite right here.
Callum Hudson-Odoi on the left.
Yeah.
No, Ollie, that's not how it works, mate. You can't do that.
Can't choose anyone you want, Ollie.
And I've picked a 19-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo on the right. No, again, Ollie. Again, we can't do this. So, yeah, they backed him.
So it feels at the moment that he's getting backed every day.
Well, it does, and Max Allegri has come out and said that he doesn't speak good enough England to come and take the job. So it looks like he's ruled himself out of contention there. But obviously United take on Liverpool at the weekend, and the noises previously were, look, if he gets spanked, then he's out.
Well, let's hear from Ollie on his recruitment policy.
Is it a case of just resetting again the club, having been through obviously Jose Mourinho era, a Louis van Gaal era, David Moyes, and obviously back to Sir Alex?
That's always a decision that the club has to make when they appoint a new manager, because the manager has to be the one with the final say. And I think that's always been the case at this club, that the manager has the final say when who are we going to bring in, who are we going to let go. And that's my experience. I'm sure the other managers have had their say and said, yeah, I want him. And I might have a different view on the club than Jose, Louis, David Moyes, and Sir Alex. Now I've been backed and given this job, and we've started it, and the recruitment has started really well.
Woodward actually said that he's insulted by the claims non-footballing people at United make football decisions. Ollie obviously backing it up there by saying that he has the last say.
But that's nonsense, isn't it? Ed Woodward's the chief exec, and of course he makes the decisions. What do you think he does?
Right, so the way that I would assume it works is that the decisions are made by the football recruitment department, the likes of Michael Carrick, the likes of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and then it gets to the point where they present it to Mr. Woodward and say, we want to bring in, I want this one. You know,
on
that one. So that's the impression I get. So you'll get the likes of, so Harry Maguire, look, I mean, the thing is, it's not a particularly difficult one to scout, but I'm sure the recruitment department ticked all the boxes. Ole Solskjaer likes him, Michael Carrick likes him, Mike Phelan, whoever else like him. At that point, they present it to Wood, right, we want you to go and get him. And then it's up to him to negotiate the best deal he can.
Yeah, so Ed Woodward's been talking to the Mail, and he says, what's important is that the commercial side is never allowed to take priority over the football side. There is a myth that we have non-football people making football decisions, and it's insulting to the brilliant people who work at this football club. The reality of Manchester United is that we're a club in 2 parts. First of all, an incredible 141-year footballing institution with all that history, all that legacy. That can never change. and then he doesn't actually go on to say what the second part of the club is. So there's that. But yes, we've expanded our recruitment department in recent years, and we believe this now runs efficient and productive way.
I mean, look, being able to count to 2 isn't necessarily an issue, really, nowadays.
Well, we've seen it with Phil Neville.
Well, that was to 4, so that was obviously always going to be a lot more difficult. I do like it when people do that, though. Like, I've got 2 really important things I need to say to you, and they only end up with 1.
Mate, I had it on Sky News once.
Yeah.
They were talking. It was actually, this is like a couple of months ago when we were talking about Boris getting a Brexit deal, and they were like. I was like, right, well, look, there's 3 things on this, okay? The first thing made my point. The second thing made my point. And thirdly...
Forgot. Oh, no.
I'd just like to reiterate what I've already said.
It is difficult, though, right? The mind struggles to remember too many things. I remember I had it, so
3,
I did a bit...
though, mate. Come on.
Right, well, I had it, so I always remember this, and it was one of my most embarrassing moments. So I did a bit for Soccer Saturday, so the Chris Kamara, like the in-vision reporting. I did a dozen or so games, which was great fun. So you go to the game, of course, so I had Jeff Stelling in my ear calling me to, like, when a goal goes in, you let him know, and then Jeff will come to you, and you have to say about the goal. Did the first few games, not a problem. There was a game Nottingham Forest took on, I forget if they even played, but it was at Nottingham Forest, I remember that. So a player's gone through, he's got fouled, so it's a penalty. The player's taken the penalty, it's saved, someone's followed it up and scored. 5 players I had to remember. So I had to remember who's gone through, who's made the foul, who's taken the penalty, who's made the save, who's had the follow-up. I didn't even remember the first name. It was that moment where I'm frozen on camera. I'm like, anyway, it's a goal. It's 1-0. It was like,
Is that all you did?
And I could hear then like Laetitia and Jeff, I could hear them all laughing in the background. I was man. It was like, that was so bad. But this was it. It's hard, right? Your memory's only so many.
It's hard as well when someone interrupts you. Because Kate Burley's got this trick where she'll know that you're making a point and then she'll just go, why?
Oh, that's annoying.
Why? Why? Well, if you just let me finish, Kate, right? And then they never ask you back.
Do you know, I might make a habit of doing that this morning.
Why?
There you go.
Yeah,
Clever.
it's annoying, isn't it?
It's really annoying already. Yeah, I really want to do things to you. So there's all sorts of other news in the papers today. So Pochettino has been very positive in a press conference, I believe.
Yeah, apart from when the camera panned away and they realised he had a gun to his head and he was reading from a script. But no, look, Poch has been positive, hasn't he? I mean, I suppose it's about time, really, that we had some positivity out of Tottenham. But, he says that they don't need to go and splash the cash in January. He's very happy with the stars that they've got and he's convinced they'll turn their poor start to the season around.
Well, let's hear from Poch, shall we?
I believe in the player that we have, and you know very well. I respect all the opinion. For sure, it's going to be people that is going to say we need to change or we need to do something or in or out, but I'm going to stick with my player because I know they have the quality to be fighting for the thing that we expect to fight.
Mr. Pochettino there, do you agree? Let us know. 0208 70 20 558. Of course, we are on YouTube these days. Check us out on YouTube. No doubt we'll be switching. I think we've got it switched on already. I'll check out some of the comments shortly. Obviously, on the socials as well, at Love Sport Radio. If you've got any comments on what we're talking about today, it's always lovely to hear from you.
Yes, there's more fallout from the Christmas fixture schedule, which is actually quite hard to say.
Pep isn't happy, is he?
Christmas fixture schedule.
Yeah, there's a lot of different words going on.
Couldn't say that after a few pints, could you?
No.
And there's more for. That's how you could spot who's had a cheeky one on like Soccer Saturday.
Yeah.
And now we're going to the Christmas fixture special. So Manchester City are furious that they will have to play twice in just 46 hours over Christmas. And they've issued a stinging response to the FA over that. And also, of course, Liverpool fans having to get back from Leicester at 10:30 in the evening on Boxing Day. It's not look. It's good if you sat on your backside in front of the telly on your couch because it's just bosh game,
So many
game. But if you're actually a player or a match going fan,
those 4,000 or 5,000 Liverpool fans that have made the trip, you feel sorry for them, right?
Yeah, you do, especially because they've had to go to Leicester,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the real blow in all this, which is going underreported in my opinion.
Yeah. Fantastic. We're going to be talking business next.
Love sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
When looking for the best possible deal for his car insurance, Jim went on a spokesmansaid.com and saved hundreds.
I'm Jim. I'm a radio presenter based in Glasgow. I couldn't believe how expensive the car insurance for our Citroen C4 Picasso was going to be from my existing insurer. I went on a Spokesman Said and saved an incredible £600. Just amazing.
Find quotes from over 100 leading insurance providers at a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
One thing I've learned is never judge a book by its movie. I'm joking, I never...
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, business.
It's business. It's business time. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it's time for business. It's business time.
Ooh, it's business. It's Chris Bailey time.
Financial.com.
Do we need the improvisation bits? I mean, that was just that was kind of nice. But when I want to kind of record it so I can sort of play it when I enter other meetings, I need the volume a little bit louder.
Please do. I'd love that. The boardroom doors swing open. Cue smoke machine. Cue lasers. Cue Chris Bailey. It's business time.
You know that sort of boxing match thing. On sort of the Rocky movies. I'm sort of thinking that kind of look. Obviously not with me stripped down a la Sylvester Stallone, but that sort of this ambiance is what I'm looking for. So I need the volume a bit higher. So when I rip the theme music and I need you to then the Chris Bailey time, but I think that's a good improvisation.
Chris Bailey time. Look, we're more than happy to be your brand managers. We've created a Chris Bailey brand, I feel here.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's what we have done in other shows.
Chris.
That's right.
This is it. Hope you don't forget us when you hit the big time.
What do you mean when? It's already
there.
Rolling in it. Sleeps in a bed of cash.
I know. Let's talk Brexit. Patrick's quite excited this morning. What's your thoughts, Chris?
I hear. Look, I mean, obviously it does look as if there's a bit of progress. I mean, I have to say, I do think they'll lose the vote tomorrow, but there'll be an extension, an election, and eventually it will pass because ultimately that's just the way things are. And then it leads, of course, to the next problem, which is what you do afterwards. But that's just another small challenge for the 2020s. But yeah, I think it's a bit of common sense. I think finally people are saying, look, we can keep on talking about this and everything, but ultimately we've got to compromise and move on. And I think the business world certainly would support that. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Over the last week, the pound in your pocket has actually gone up quite a bit, which I think is a good sign that actually common sense is forging somehow or other.
That is good news. Eurostar enjoys the busiest August.
Well, it is. I mean, linking with the previous story, you're kind of wondering whether there's all these people going on kind of slightly middle-class booze cruises or something in order to sort of miss out if there's any Brexit, post-Brexit sort of issues with excise duties or whatever. But no, over 1 million passengers in August apparently on the Eurostar, which is great. So record numbers there. All very good. 25 years now for the Eurostar. Here's a little Friday quiz for you. It takes 2 hours, 15 minutes apparently to get Paris from London.
Okay.
What did it take on when it launched 25 years ago? What do you reckon?
Oh, 4 hours.
Yeah, 4.5.
4 hours. It was pulled by horses or something. But 3 hours apparently.
Okay.
So actually things have got quicker.
Isn't
so
that horrible?
Progress.
Isn't that horrible when you come up with a point and then someone just goes way too far? Guess how much that cost? £1.
Gosh,
no, it's a fiver. I thought you were going to say.
I thought you guys were going to go trains are getting worse, they're getting slower, whatever. So you thought, it's actually 2 hours 15 or something. But anyway, but there you go, 3 hours. So it's actually got quicker over the last 25 years. Very good. So yeah, very good news for Eurostar.
Good news indeed. 3 network crash affects millions in UK.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, last couple of days, the Three Network. I'm not on it myself, but it has been causing a few problems. I was on a train yesterday, and a young woman was a professional woman was having a few problems with her phone. She was bemoaning the fact that the Three Network had gone down, apparently for various technical reasons, upgrades, infrastructure, and everything else. And she was bemoaning this fact, and so had to sort of, instead of doing the various bits of business over the internet, her mobile internet and whatever, she was actually talking on the phone about it. So that was most interesting. Top tip to anybody: probably best not to talk about business on the phone in a packed sort of commuter carriage. But all I will say is that the people of Norwich have got a big treat later on today. I learnt from just basically earwigging.
Oh, I really want to know what the secret is now. Are you allowed to divulge, or would that be a little bit?
Believe me, it's not that exciting. But people of Norwich, going to be excited later on.
All right, I'm going to keep an eye out. The Norwich Times, the Norwich Gazette, whatever the paper is, I'm all over it. Great stuff, Chris, as always. Do appreciate it.
I like Norwich. It's almost like one big happy family, isn't it?
Anyway, Chris Bailey, founder of financialorbit.com. Yeah, I said thank you. Didn't say thank you back.
He's too busy. Tokyo's just open.
Right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. Sorry, sell. Trade.
Lots going on in the world of sport. We touched on a couple of stories, actually. Obviously, Solskjaer getting the vote conference over and over and over. I see there's a lot on the Longstaff brothers this morning in the back pages as well. Of course, after their win against United last time out, they take on Chelsea this weekend. A lot of rugby news, I believe. They've also touched on... So obviously we spoke a lot of racism, didn't we, on Monday, the Bulgarian game, etc. We had the pleasure of Dimitar Mitov on the phone yesterday, which was very interesting. They touched today in the papers in quite a big way on there was a bit of an iconic picture where Raheem Sterling and Jordan Henderson kind of go to put their hands together. So that's made the back pages in quite a big way, I see. Yeah. I think you want to touch on a bit of rugby, though?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the fallout, really, from Eddie Jones. Obviously, England play Australia tomorrow, 8:15am. Set your alarms. Don't have a heavy one tonight. Quarter-final, World Cup, don't miss it. Eddie Jones has sprung a surprise by dropping England's player of the World Cup, George Ford. Now, we broke this yesterday. It means he's moving Owen Farrell to 10 and bringing in Henry Slade. But actually, the fallout of this has been pretty.
I'm not surprised. I mean, I know some people have said that Ford has stalled, but I don't know. Like, you look, he hasn't missed a tackle. Like, he's been very, very good in what he's done.
Well, no, he has been. It's a really bold move, this, by Eddie Jones. Sir Clive Woodward, of course, who masterminded England's success to the 2003 World Cup, says Slade's selection could actually prove to be a masterstroke by Eddie Jones. He thinks it will really mix things up and help inject a little bit of something different. So we'll have to wait and see. It's like any major managerial decision, though. If you win, you're a genius. If you lose, it's all your fault, isn't it? So we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. But it is a big call. Just quickly, it is a big call to leave out George Ford because when England play with Ford at 10, they have an 83% win rate. But when they play with Farrell at 10, which is going to happen against the Aussies, they only have a 59% win rate.
Right. I mean, obviously, it's getting a bit of pressure today. So, with Ford, is there any chance of a U-turn?
Oh, mate, honestly, stop it. Is there any indication, do you reckon, that I'm going to take this?
That's really good, actually. That's probably my favourite one.
Ford has also had a superb record against Australia, winning 7 of the 8 games he's played against them. So, look, it is a really bold call, this, by Eddie Jones, but he's a man with a plan.
He is, indeed. Let's hear from Michael Checker, Aussie head coach, who was bullish at his press conference.
Yeah, well, I saw that he was saying that would be an advantage and that the Typhoon gods were smiling on him. So, yeah, I suppose they better win. They've had the best preparation, according to the coach, so they better go out there and win. If that's the best possible preparation, we'll see how we go.
He's very funny.
Mate, he's so chippy. He is so chippy.
They better go and win.
Yeah, they better win. They've had the best preparation. You can just tell he just sits in his room and he's just there, just looking at a picture of Eddie Jones, just sticking a pin through the eye.
He's got an Eddie Jones on his dartboard. He's got an Eddie Jones doll.
He's called his dog Eddie.
Yeah.
Come on, Eddie. Come on.
Well, look, promises to be an interesting weekend on the rugby front, indeed. What's going on the back pages?
There's a few bits and bobs. So Arsene Wenger, off of football.
I know the one.
Well, he turns 70 next week, and he's just done a piece in the Mail with Ian Herbert, who he's just outlining what he's doing now, really. So he still hankers a place in the dugout, for a place in the dugout. But you know what he does with his life now? As any kind of dapper gentrified 70-year-old would do.
Go on.
Just eats loads of Italian food and bike rides around the country.
I don't blame him.
No.
I think, what would you do if you had... He's obviously wealthy. In fact, let's play this game. You're a wealthy man. You're a bit older now. You know, you've kind of retired from...
It's not a game for you, is it? That's your life.
Anyway, let's play this for you, not for me. So you're a bit older now. You've retired. You made a bit of money. You won. Let's say you won the lottery. So you're now, you've got
it's
no
the only way.
You've got no real. What do you do with your days?
Oh gosh,
Quite deep, I know.
Well, I don't think I can answer honestly at this time in the morning, can I? So I will say...
You're 70 years old. Are you still?
Oh, big time.
Oh my word.
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course you are. It's the perfect time to do
You're
it.
quite an animal. You are.
No, yeah, no, it's no surrender.
Yeah, you're talking about really strong coffee, right?
Oh, yeah. So apart from all that, obviously, all that, I reckon I would probably... I'd like to take up a hobby. I'd like to fly. I'd like to get a helicopter or something like that.
You can, yes.
I'd like to do something like that. I'd like to buy an island, go and live it. I'd just holiday.
Come fly with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll fly. We can have like races and our helicopters.
Oh, I thought you were going to sing all the other lyrics to it.
Oh, yeah.
Mesut Ozil has been persistently miserable, and Arsenal fans as well. Like, he's done a couple of articles here. I'm quite keen, actually, Arsenal fans. 0208 70 25 58. Are you just sick of him? Because the rumours are, the noises are that potentially he'll be off in January. We just don't really know anymore with Ozil, do we? But he did a piece in the Mail yesterday online, and there's one in the paper today. And he was talking about the impact that the robbery had on him, which, look, fair play, by the way. If a load of nutters with machetes come after you, then, I imagine that has an impact. But he said it just ruined his wife. Like, his wife was just there saying, look, we need to go. We need to leave London. Every time he went out in the back garden just to let the dogs out, she'd shout at him to come in. She was terrified. He wasn't best pleased with the way that Unai Emery kind of handled it. Apparently he was saying, I need a break from football. Emery was a bit like, okay. And now, anyway, he's come out again and looking miserable, saying, I always get blamed if we lose.
Is that a bit of a victim mentality?
There's something not quite right.
No.
Like, I feel for him. Like, I look at Mesut Ozil. There's always that person in the office when you walk in and you go, oh, morning, mate, how are you? Surviving. That's Mesut Ozil, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look, are you really enjoying the fact that you're about to go to Mauritius for 2 weeks? Yeah, a bit hot, though, isn't it?
Are you talking about producer Mark? Because that's really harsh. I mean, I haven't noticed that from him at all.
You mean Nick?
Hey, look, I think you need to go and apologise to Mark straight after this. We're going to be talking. We're going to go to the news with plenty more to come. Do stay tuned. 3 minutes to 7.
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Alright, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Loves for breakfast from me, originally Patrick Christys. I'm going to pass over to Patrick because I feel that a public apology to producer Mark is in order right now.
Yeah, Mark, I'm very sorry, mate. First and foremost, called you Nick. Secondly, didn't realise you were listening. So, very sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Patrick. But simply not good enough. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for you, give everything I have. Thought you were a nice guy, so I really don't know what to make of that.
Okay, now I need to tell you. You thought he was a nice guy. Well, look, this is all on you, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, to that point, I feel a bit sorry for you, but it's...
No, look, I shouldn't have called you persistently miserable. That's not true, is it?
Well, on this one topic, it is. But I've clearly got bad judgment, and I won't make that same mistake twice.
All right, Mark. Thank you,
But
mate.
I feel like we
Apologies.
sorted that out. So good. We can move on with the show. Lots to come in the next hour. We're going to be talking more front pages because Patrick's pretty happy this morning with...
Boris Johnson.
with that guy. We're going to be talking a bit of Arsenal. We're going to be talking a bit of cricket as well. Lots more, as always. If you get in touch, 0208 70 25 on WhatsApp, at Love Sport Radio on the socials, or you can get in touch on YouTube. Time 7 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 7. Boris Johnson's got just 24 hours to persuade Parliament to back his new Brexit deal ahead of an historic Saturday sitting in the Commons tomorrow. The Prime Minister insists he's very confident he can get MPs to support the agreement, but the DUP says they won't back it and their approval is seen as imperative. The Dutch and Belgian Prime Ministers are upbeat.
Here you have a deal which is taking into account all the red lines. The UK, including its parliament, including Theresa May, including Boris Johnson, have drawn in the past.
I am happy, I'm positive, but I'm also cautious because now we will see if it's possible for the British Parliament to agree.
The number of suspected child victims of modern slavery has increased massively in the last 5 years. The Local Government Association says there's been an 800% rise in referrals made by councils in England. There were 127 cases in 2014, and that went up to almost 1,200 last year. Rachel was promised a better life in the UK, but was forced into domestic servitude.
That affects me in a big deal. If the trauma, it's something that sticks with anyone for the rest of their lives. Still going through the trauma day-to-day basis, it's hard.
A UK-wide operation against so-called county lines gangs has led to the arrest of more than 700 people. The National Crime Agency says £400,000 worth of drugs were seized. President Trump's welcomed the announcement of a ceasefire in northern Syria. There will be a truce for 5 days while Kurdish-led troops withdraw from what Turkey terms a safe zone on the border. There's been heavy fighting in northern Mexico between the security forces and members of the powerful Sinaloa drug cartel. One of the group's leaders has been released after being discovered by the National Guard. In sport, Wales backs Jonathan Davies, Dan Biggar and Hadley Parkes have all been passed fit to face France for the Rugby World Cup quarter-final. It's due to take place in Japan on Sunday. That's the latest. I'm Daisy Steele.
Love Sport.
Millions of people are missing out by having a current account that doesn't pay them any interest on their hard-earned money. TSB offers interest to all their Plus account customers for no monthly fee. Plus, you can stop your friends and family missing out by recommending the Plus account to them. And when they switch, you'll both earn £75. Search online or visit your local branch. Terms and conditions apply.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Good morning, Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10. Let's touch on the top stories this morning. We're going to be talking a lot. England versus Australia, of course. Eddie has dropped Mr. Ford. We're going to be talking Edward Wood. Keeps faith with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Says he's insulted to suggest non-football people make footballing decisions at Man United. Pochettino in a positive mood in his press conference. The festive day fixtures have angered Pep Guardiola as City have 48-hour gap between games, whereas Liverpool have a full 24 hours longer. Lots of other stories too, and of course the front pages are dominated by Brexit. Good news as far as Mr. Patrick Christys is concerned. No doubt we'll talk about that further in this next hour too.
Yes, we will indeed. It does look as though Boris Johnson has got a deal. They said it couldn't be done, but the bumbling blonde buffoon has managed to pull it off. So well done, Bojo.
There you go. So we're going to touch on a couple of stories in the back pages. Where do you want to start, Mr. Christys?
Well, let's just start with Ed Woodward backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, actually. So he says he's backing him 100%. This is ahead of Sunday's clash against Liverpool. Defeat would pile yet more pressure on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because United do sit just 2 points above the relegation zone, which is not a phrase I ever thought I would really say. It's the worst start to a season in 30 years. But apparently, Ole's vision maps exactly to the core 3 objectives we have, said Ed Woodward. We must win trophies, we must play attacking football, and we must give youth a chance. Ole has also instilled discipline back into an environment where we may have lacked it in recent years. The middle section of last season, after Ole's arrival, feels most relevant. We saw a team playing fast, fluid football.
There you go. I don't know, it's a fascinating this one for me. It just feels like at the moment, because it's so so constant. Maybe it's just because it's a bit of a slow news day, given that, of course, during the international break, there's not loads going on in the world of football. They're finding something to talk about. It just feels like they're rehashing a lot of the same stuff. Because for Ole Solskjaer, we kind of know the script. I get that. Like, unless they were to be beaten really, really heavily, even then, I guess if they have put this plan in place and they're willing to stick to it, then that is the script. Now, he will get a lot of sticks, certainly while they're near the bottom, which they will be. They're not going to win against Liverpool, let's be honest. They're not going to win that game of football. So they're going to be, again, maybe even a point off the drop after the weekend.
But you obviously know a thing or two about being the underdog going into a game, right? So if you were playing for, when you were at Watford, right, and that season where you got relegated.
Yes.
So when you went in, who won the league that year? Was it United?
United, yeah.
So when you went into that game against United, so it's the equivalent of what United are going into against Liverpool now, essentially. How did you guys approach that game? Because you just said then you're not going to win the game. So do you all know that before you go in? Do you lie to yourself?
No, of course. Like you get a mentality. The first time we played them, it was a real positive mentality because it was the start of the season, and there was the excitement of just being promoted, and you just feel, could this be our day that we create an upset? Now, as the season goes on, the belief begins to fade a little bit. I still think you go into games believing that you can, but it's not quite as excited as it is at the start of the season. Then you get that goal that goes against you 5 minutes in, and suddenly the crowd are groaning, and you can feel this air of inevitability as you're playing the game. That is true. So look, of course they'll get themselves up for it. Of course they'll want to win, and they'll give all they can. The problem is they're fragile at the moment. So let's say they do concede within the first 10, 15 minutes. Liverpool go 1 up. It could be a heavy score. That's the worry.
See, this is the thing, isn't it? It's all very well and good backing him, but if they get spanked 6-0, that's the difference, isn't it? There's a difference between like a 2-0 defeat against a clearly much better team that has won every single game so far this season and getting absolutely stuffed.
No, you're spot on, because the issue then comes, if it's a 1-0 defeat, then, all right, do you know what, Liverpool get the points, they're happy, they go home. If it's a 6-0 defeat, the added impact to that is, of course, that the belief will then drain out of it completely. And then you'll get, like they'll have it now, they'll have cliques talking, no doubt, and they'll have a bit of discontentment within the squad. That will be happening now, but then that will get intensified. Suddenly you lose 6 because the papers will be going so crazy, because the fans will be going so crazy. The pressure then becomes that much more for them to do something. And, of course, what do you do? What's the easiest thing to do? You can't sack a player, so you sack a manager.
Do you think we should actually just start reversing this, where you do sack the player?
The problem is it's the perceived value. We're talking a lot about the Derby lads. Tom Lawrence, they bought him for £5 million. Now look, if this is another line of work, there's a good chance they sack them and they can find someone to come in and do a similar job. When you've got someone who's got a perceived value of £8 million, there are other things at play. Rightly or wrongly, there are other things at play. And I think with a lot of the United players, even though we're looking at it and saying this is a poor United squad right now for the Manchester United that we've known, each of the players has a value. If you're a player starting at Manchester United, minimum value, certainly if you're in your 20s, minimum value is £30 million.
If you come with a hefty price tag, it's basically diplomatic immunity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Is there very few things that you could do?
Well, all it's ever going to do is impact your price tag. It's never going to mean that it's zero. Well, unless it's something horrendously bad, and we won't go into those examples that have happened. But unless it's something horrendously bad, then of course it's going to be.
Exactly. I think that one of the main things that that is coming out in the press today, certainly, is that the way that Sir Alex Ferguson used to get United up for these games.
Yeah.
So Liverpool was the only home game when Fergie made us stay in a hotel. This is according to Gary Pallister. So he wanted to get the team there in the hotel early doors. Clayton Blackmore of Manchester United, obviously 245 games at the club between 82 and 94, said he wouldn't be surprised to see United win and then lose to Norwich next week, which I think sums up the inconsistency.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit... Yeah, I know what you're saying there. It's a bit of a cliche, that, isn't it? It's
Andy Robertson's been talking, actually, the Liverpool player.
Go on.
Saying that United was so poor against Newcastle that he's expecting a reaction, and actually that they might be more dangerous.
I mean, I saw an article yesterday about United just not being able to score from open play at the moment. Look, they're not... This is the point, though. It's kind of... I get that. You've got certain teams that are a bit of an enigma, that, on their day, they can pull up trees and they can do something incredible and then be poor the next week. And there are a few teams. I've always said Watford have been like that last few years, where you feel like on their day, like, what a team. I saw them against Arsenal earlier this season, and you see a team that you think, wow, these could challenge for the top six, and yet they're rock bottom of the league. So I don't think United are that, though. I don't think they've got a game of brilliance in them. Yes, they got a good result against Chelsea, but let's revisit that game. It wasn't that they were 4 goals better than Chelsea. Yeah. If you look at it now in the cold light of day, a lot of things went their way.
Yeah.
So are they the type of team that are going to come out all guns blazing and go and beat Liverpool 3-0? No, absolutely not.
Well, Phil Thompson, former Liverpool player, of course, Liverpool legend, said that this is the biggest match in the world and you dare not lose. And that's the thing, which is that United's hope could be that Liverpool take their foot off the gas and they see a very weak team and they think they've already won. Well, they're obviously not going to think that way, are they? It's United.
Is it still the biggest game in the world? Because, by the way, I agree with that. It was. And, even though it is a rivalry, but it's not like a Manchester derby, but the rivalry between Liverpool and United, I've been to a few of the games, and it is electric.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, it's one of. It's definitely one of. I mean, I think the Classico's got to be up there, hasn't it? And frankly, some of the, biggest game in the world, it's up there, I would say, probably. And certainly in terms of global fan base as well, bear in mind. I mean, the amount of, I hate to think how many people, actually, when that game goes live around the world are going to be, so you could just throw a dart at a map in Africa and you probably just go to where that lands and there'd be someone watching the United-Liverpool game.
Yeah, well, it is believed that I heard the figure of 1 billion Manchester United fans. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but if that is true, it's 1 in 7 people, which
so makes it not true.
Which makes it, makes it
actually,
probably
I don't know.
True.
You're a United fan. I'm a United fan. Who else is a United fan in here?
Nick?
I
don't know. I don't think he is, man. Let's talk a little bit about James Maddison. Of course, he was big news earlier in the week. He was seen in a casino when England were playing their game. Brendan Rodgers has had his say. In fact, let's hear from Brendan. We won't hear from Brendan just yet. What we will do is talk about Brendan.
I like that on the news. You see on the 7 o'clock news, they're like, and now we can go live to China?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm ready to hear from him now.
Oh, yeah.
Go on, Brendan.
I want to reiterate, because this is a player that I've seen in the last few months, various stories around his arrogance, around his mentality, and they're totally false. I'm not sure where the stories are coming from. He's a wonderful personality on the field, and he's actually a really, really good boy off it.
He's a good boy. Makes him sound like a good boy.
Who's a good boy?
Who's a good boy?
Come here, James. Look, now watch this. Give me your paw. Give me your paw. He's a clever boy.
Speak, James.
Yes.
Speak. Anyway, so some of the quotes from Brendan Rodgers. He's saying about he's dismissed reports about Maddison's character, saying a lot of the reports are totally false. I've seen in the last few months various stories around his arrogance, about his mentality. I'm not sure where these stories are coming from, but it's not what the boy's about. Very talented player, belief in his ability, wonderful personality on the field, actually a really good boy off it. He actually then goes on to, I know we heard that from him there, but I'm just for those who didn't understand his Northern Irish accent, so, just to translate. What he did say about the incident is that they decide it's best for him to leave the camp, so he leaves, he gets some tablets, and he feels better. He watches the game at home on his own on the Friday and then goes out at half-time. Probably he'll make better decisions in his life, but he went to the casino on his own to sit and watch the second half by a poker table.
I mean, look, there are people who can't stand their own company.
Yeah.
And if he is just holed up in a flat,
yeah.
He's holed up in whatever mansion that he lives in, and he just wants a bit of ambiance, and we all want a bit of ambiance, don't we? And just so what? This is the thing. He's been sent. He's not declared himself unfit for England duty. He's not had a mysterious kind of Paul Scholes little. I've got a little niggle. No. He's got a virus. The England team doctors have told him to go home. He's gone home, watched the first half of the game on medication, and then gone to a casino and watched the second half there. I do know it looks bad, I get this, and normally I do dig footballers out for stuff like this, but so what? So what? He earned $5,000 at playing poker or something while the football's on in the background. He's not allowed to be at the football.
No, he's not. Okay, but the point is he's ill. Like, I mean, look, Brendan Rodgers said he'll probably make better decisions in his life. And he's right, he will, because it's that. I'm going to use the same example. You're ill from school. Does your mum let you play football in the afternoon?
No, I know what you mean, mate. But he's just sitting. Look, I don't know. He obviously wasn't a life and death situation, was it? He's got the flu, and they've gone or a cold, and they've gone, look, just get away from the squad in case you infect us all.
Yeah.
And he's gone and done that. Look, personally, I'm not too bothered about that.
Maybe it's because Brendan wasn't there. I mean, look, at the end of the day, James Madison, he's a good boy.
Yeah, he's a good boy.
If Brendan was there, he'd be like, sit, James, no, don't go to the casino.
Stay.
Sit. Good boy.
Yeah.
7:15.
I like Putin. He gets me. I like Trump. I've got him.
This is Love Sport. Digital radio offers great sound quality and more stations than ever before. And we want to make sure that you get Love Sport on your digital radio. Just press the auto tune or auto scan button and Love Sport will appear on your menu. Love Sport on digital radio.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
There are fewer than 20 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. We're going to talk a little bit of Arsenal now. Delighted to say we've got Andrew Dowd as well on the line. Pain in the Arsenal. Morning, Andrew.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, yeah, good, thanks. Good. Lots to talk about in regards to Arsenal this morning. I want to touch on Arsene Wenger as well, actually, briefly, but just want to look ahead to the game on Monday. Sheffield United away. Quite a tough game given how Sheffield United have started.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're brilliant at Bramall Lane. The atmosphere down there is fantastic. I actually grew up in Sheffield, so I've got a lot of friends who are going to be giving me some stick if Arsenal don't get the victory. But it'll be an intriguing matchup, I think.
Yeah, well, someone else in the papers a lot today is Mesut Ozil for a few different reasons. I want to talk about the enigma of Mesut Ozil, but he's also said he intends to see out the remainder of his contract, which is obviously until 2021. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think if I was earning £250,000 a week, I'd be quite keen to see out the remainder of my contract as well. I think it's such a frustrating situation for Arsenal because he's a player of great ability, of great talent, but for whatever reason, whether it's attitude or commitment or just a tactical problem, he doesn't produce as his potential suggests he should. Certainly not in the realms of what £350,000 a week should buy you anyway. And it's kind of difficult to see what they can do because they can't sell him because nobody can pay his wages. Unai doesn't look like he's going to play him. And also Mesut Ozil doesn't seem like he deserves to be played at present either.
Do you think, I mean this seriously, like, do you think that you might be just a bit depressed? Like, I've thought this about him for a while, like the way he seems all the time and just his attitude and the way that he goes about his business. A lot of what comes out of his mouth seems very like, I don't really want to be here, I get blamed if we lose, all this kind of stuff. Like, do you think actually maybe we should be looking at this and thinking of it from a slightly different angle of like, is he all right?
I definitely think it's worth considering. I mean, I know for a fact he loves London and loves his life in London. But I think that what happened with the Germany national team really affected him. Where he says, "I'm an immigrant when we lose and I'm German when we win." And I think maybe that could have an effect on his mental state. But he's not said anything of that, at least not publicly. But it's not beyond the realms of possibility. It's certainly, in this day and age, it's something that we should be more aware of, that he is, mentally healthy and able to produce, in such a high-pressured environment that professional football is.
Bit of a random one, but I want to ask your thoughts on this, because, of course, he was with Arsenal for a period of time. Petr Cech on his ice hockey debut, because we've heard from a few different fans on this. Arsenal fans make much of it?
A little bit. He was It was quite surprising to see him save a penalty in ice hockey, but I'm happy for him. I remember Nicholas Bentner got loads of stick for saying that footballers should be felt sorry for because they can't go skiing, and that's it's a load of rubbish. But I kind of understand his point that footballers, while they're playing, they can't go and do things that are hobbies, like for Petr Cech, go and play ice hockey. So he's had a 20-year career at the top of the game. Why not go and enjoy yourself playing another sport that you love? I'm happy for him.
There's a big piece in the Mail today about Arsene Wenger. So his life after Arsenal. He's turned 70 next week. Apparently, his life now is just the stuff of kings. Essentially, he just relentlessly goes out for Italian meals and bike rides around the country. But he still wants his job in the dugout. Have you got a word for Arsene as he turns 70?
Happy birthday, first and foremost. I think I don't think he was expecting to enjoy retirement as much as he has done. And I think he's still, obsessed with football, and there's still that kind of insatiable pull back to the dugout, and he can't quite let go of it. But I also think he's having quite a lot of fun, and I don't think he thought he would, which maybe is beginning to sway his mind about returning to the game. I wonder if maybe an executive or director role, I know he's been linked with FIFA, maybe something like that might be more down his line, that's a little bit less high-pressured than a top-level management.
I just want to go back to Ozil quickly, because we've got the quotes that he made in the Athletic, and it's interesting because he's quite careful about what he says about Unai Emery, but you get the impression that maybe they don't see eye to eye. But some of the quotes did intrigue me. He sort of saying, like, if we don't do well in a big game, it's always my fault. If that's true, how do you explain our results in big games when I wasn't involved? There's no real difference. He goes on, so there's like kind of a bit of a... It seems like a bit of a victim in some parts, but then touched on the fact that he signed the contract till 2021. He'll be staying until then. There was one line that did make me smile, though. I also get really frustrated when I miss a game through illness and people question if it's genuine. Yes, it's happened a few times, usually in the winter. But what am I supposed to do? So has he just got a little bit of an issue with the weather? I mean, what's the problem here?
I don't know. And he has this curious back problem that kind of... pokes its head up every now and then. I mean, he's missed over 100 games for Arsenal since he was signed in 2013. So that I think really that tells you all you need to know, doesn't it? And he's not had any long-term injuries either. So it has been, 1 week here, 1 week there, and it's been 100 of them. Like that's not really good enough, is it, for doing £50,000 a week? No,
it's certainly not. Well, Andrew, really appreciate you joining us this morning.
No, thank you very much for having me.
That's Anders Dowd as well, Payne in the Arsenal, giving us his thoughts on Arsenal at the moment. We had a few players like that, Patrick, who would get like what you call like a Friday hamstring, or like you get a Burnley away on a Tuesday night and suddenly the back flares up.
Oh yeah.
Certainly over the Christmas period, the amount of injuries that players would get on like the 20th of December, but they'd come back on about the 4th of January.
Just absolutely fine.
Yeah, but those kind of real niggly 2-week injuries. We just need a couple of weeks away from the game.
Yeah, it reminds me of like I used to go to school with a lad who he claimed to have broken his arm once just to get out of PE.
Wow, that's extreme.
Yeah, which is obviously because you can't really lie about that too much. But he did try it on, and then someone just threw something at him, and he just caught it, and I was like, right, okay, look, seriously, Billy, just get your kit on, all right?
Yeah, Billy.
Yeah,
Billy, Dave, Gary.
I'm just Billy. Billy's my mate.
Billy's your mate. All right,
Billy Welch.
Yeah, well, my advice.
Shout out.
My advice to him would be go with the earache, go with headache.
Yeah.
Very
Stuff
difficult.
You can't see or touch.
Very difficult to prove. Lacazette could be fit for the Sheffield United game. Very, very important to Arsenal, of course.
Yeah, no lack of fitness.
Hey,
thank you. Cheers. We can all go home now. Yeah, absolutely. He is extremely important to Arsenal. Look, I think I like Arsenal this year. I know that Arsenal fans, it's can be very up and down about it. All my girlfriend's an Arsenal fan, so is all her family, and I've found myself in an Arsenal fan WhatsApp group, which, to be honest with you, for a few years was brilliant. Now, terrible. But yeah, I like the way that Arsenal play. I like Unai Emery. I think he'll have success, actually, at the club. And I think the way that it's poised at the minute, you've got Liverpool and City. There's no disgrace in coming third in a league that involves Liverpool and City, the way that they're playing at the minute. Are two of the best teams in the world. I think Arsenal, for me, are the third best team.
Well, let's make the point. They're 1 point off Man City at the moment, 8 games in. It's very, very good. Do you know what? And I suppose people looking at Unai Emery and the job that he's done, and you can see this is when we come back to Solskjaer and the job that he's done, you can see a direction, or I can. And it's interesting talking to Arsenal fans, because I think the majority would agree with that.
And it's the kids as well coming through, man. The Arsenal kids at the minute look really, really exciting. You've got the likes of Saka there as well, Willock, of course. The way that they're playing, it is a joy to watch, actually. And you compare that to the United kids who are starting in the first team most week, and you think, it's not particularly inspiring. Well, Arsenal, it's a good time to be an Arsenal fan.
Right, another thing for you. Mr. Pogba been seen with Zidane as he recovers from his injury in Dubai. Just bumped into each other.
I've got a theory about this.
Go on.
I don't reckon Pogba's injured. I reckon this stuff that you're hearing now from Ed Woodward saying about Solskjaer's restored the discipline in the club. The discipline. This is the key word that's coming through, discipline. I think Solskjaer's just ostracised him. I think he's gone, you know what, you're a bad influence. Look, with the best one in the world, Jose Mourinho has looked right, hasn't he, since leaving United? There was that 10-game window where you thought Jose's never going to show his face in public again. He's been absolutely done by a Norwegian. And now, actually, you're like, oh, no, fair play, Jose. You were obviously spot on about the setup at United. And he called Paul Pogba a virus. He said, look, you are a virus infecting the team. You know that? I honestly do not think Paul Pogba is injured. I reckon that Solskjaer has just cut him out of the squad because he recognises that he's not got the right attitude and the discipline and the work rate. And I wonder whether or not that's the veiled message that Ed Woodward has splashed all over the back of the papers today, saying Ollie's restored the discipline.
Could it be Pogba out, Longstaff in? There's a lot on the Longstaffs today.
There is actually, and there's a big spread in the Daily Mail about the Longstaff brothers. Of course, you've got Matty and you've got Sean. You've got Matty, who scored that goal against Manchester United. It's a really interesting piece actually, and it goes into quite a lot of detail, just saying that Sean was pretty much always regarded as you're going to be a footballer. Matty less so. Matty actually got let go by Newcastle when he was about 11 or 12 years old. And he said he obviously floods of tears, and he had to go and watch his brother train most evenings. And he'd turn up and he'd just have his football on the touchline, just thinking, I wish I was part of this. I wish I was part of this. Anyway, he got back in the team at the age of 13 and he said, look, I'm never getting dropped again. I'm never, ever, ever getting binned off again. And yeah, that's that really. He's kicked on ever since. But yeah, it's a nice piece. We'll go into a bit more detail about that. But yeah, it's a really nice story, the Longstaff brothers there.
Yeah, it is indeed. Well, look, lots going on in the world of sport. There is a lot going on the front pages as well. Let's just touch on that briefly, shall we, Patrick? So I know you're pretty excited today.
Oh yes, absolutely. Okay, so people wrote off Boris as some kind of perpetual love rat who has messy hair, enjoys late night chorizo and red wine, who is just essentially a bumbling idiot that this country could do without. Well, you know what? He's actually gone and done it, hasn't he? He's got us a deal. He's got us a deal that ends free movement of people, allows us to do our own trade deals. Northern Ireland isn't happy, but they ruddy well should be. And yeah, we reclaim control of our fishing waters. It's time. We got Brexit done. Well done, Bojo.
We're going to be talking more about this very, very shortly.
Bojo.
28 minutes past 7.
This is Love Sport.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
There are fewer than 20 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. And for the first time this morning, there he is.
Boris
Look at the
Johnson's
guy.
biggest fan. Look at him.
Here he is. He dons the headset,
Kieran Wellington.
pulls down his mic.
I've got quite a Tory shirt on today.
You
to
have
be fair.
actually. It looks like it comes with land.
Yeah. Yeah, it does actually. Bit of a lumberjack shirt going on. Yes, very rural. But anyway, I want to go through some of the smaller stories. What is the shortest contract you ever signed, Rich?
Shortest contract I ever signed. Technically, I went on loan for a month. Does that count?
That does, yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay,
a
a month.
Yeah.
Ever
which was
heard
short.
of a one-day deal?
Doesn't exist.
Well, it does.
Does it now?
Does it basketball? Because British NBA star Luol Deng, regarded as one of Britain's best ever basketballers, retired yesterday after signing a one-day deal with Chicago Bulls. Yeah.
Why?
So he basically means he ends his playing career with the same franchise at which it started in 2004. So he wanted to finish his career the way it started, in a wonderful way. And
He's got crippling OCD then, has he?
yeah, well, Michael Reinsdorf, the owner of Chicago Bulls, said, "We're very fortunate and humbled that Luol has chosen to retire as a Chicago Bull." I mean, this is marketing gone mad, isn't it? This is like sporting PR gone mad.
That is, well, I mean, having said that though, it's America, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, if you eat cake for breakfast, that's the kind of stuff you get.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the Bulls say they plan to honour Deng at a game to be determined later this season. So it's all very nice, but it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Just retire with the franchise you last played. I mean, why do you have to go back? It'd be like you go back to Watford, Rich.
Which I'd love to, by the way. If there's any,
Please.
one day, that's
Please.
absolutely fine. Yeah, I ended up going. Where did I go? What was the club called?
Fulham.
The non-league club? No, the other one.
Something Rovers, wasn't it?
No, Dunstable. There you go. That's where I went instead. Dunstable. Which
Obviously a memorable experience.
which was awesome. I donned that shirt.
With pride.
He's got an interesting story, hasn't he? This Luol Deng,
Yeah.
born in Sudan and obviously grew up in the UK. Big fan of Faustino Asprilla, as it goes. Random fact for you. Yeah, amazing though, the career that he's had. So obviously, start the Chicago Bulls there, 10 years, went to the Cavaliers, Miami Heat, Los Angeles Lakers, Minnesota Timberwolves, and finished his career with the Bulls. Yeah, fantastic career.
Yeah, he's one of the finest. Well, he probably is the best British player in recent history.
Yeah.
So has obviously been out in the NBA all his career, and he's a two-time NBA All-Star in 2012 and 2013. So he made 902 appearances, which I suppose sounds a lot in football terms, but you know, it's just running up and down a basketball field, isn't it? It's not that far.
I think the name Minnesota Timberwolves is my favourite sporting outfit.
Is it?
Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, but they have great names.
Timberwolf?
They have
Is that a
great
thing?
names in America. We've got like Uniteds and cities. They've got
Well,
some incredible names.
We're going to talk the 100 draft with Nick Friend from the Cricketer shortly in this hour, and obviously the names in that are fantastic.
Great names.
Northern Superchargers.
I mean, what a name. Who comes up with that?
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Birmingham Phoenix.
I mean, that kind of is a bit confusing for me, but like certainly the Superchargers.
Yeah. What's the others? Oval Invincibles.
I mean, again, how are you going to play against them, Patrick?
I used to go and watch the Manchester Storm play quite a lot of ice hockey.
Well, that's just like a normal occurrence.
The
up there.
Manchester weather.
Yeah. How did they come up with that name?
Yeah, I know.
It's like, say what you see, say what you see, say what you see. Manchester rain.
Yeah.
Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Fantastic. Well, look, big well done to Mr. Deng I wonder, because obviously not a lot of people over here would have heard of him, but NBA is getting bigger and bigger over here, you would feel. It wouldn't surprise me if we see more British players playing over there.
No, it's an interesting one because you feel like we should be quite good at basketball, but we don't really play it in this country to a high level, do we? Like GB have never done that well in the Olympics, for example.
I played it at school. I loved it at school.
Yeah?
I played for the school team.
Bit short?
Wow. I mean, Patrick, can you defend me here?
Do you want to know what the salary of the highest paid NBA star is?
Yes, please.
37,457,000. It's Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors. Russell Westbrook, 35.5 mil. Same for Chris Paul and same for LeBron James. That's annually.
I mean, it's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
I mean, you got to factor in tax, so.
Yeah, but isn't it weird though how people that seem to earn that amount of money end up not paying very much tax? It's bizarre, isn't it? Because actually, I'm working through my tax bill at the minute, and it's per kind of pound that I earn, it's a lot higher than what LeBron, I imagine, would be paying, or certainly Amazon.
Yeah,
you know, it's weird, isn't it?
Is it just
weird.
intelligence?
Isn't that strange?
The cleverer you are,
because I thought, if I'm a billionaire, maybe I'd pay tax, but no, that's not the way that we live, is it?
Not the way the world works, Patrick.
Weird, isn't it?
Come on, join the game.
Okay.
Join the
How's your
game.
tax doing, Rich?
Look, do you know what? I'd love to go into this, but it's that time for this.
Love sport.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
This is Love Sport.
All right, I need to point out, I don't know what it goes to. I didn't mean to build up to that advert. That wasn't the intention. I kind of feel a bit guilty now. Are you going to help me out here?
I'm going to let it hang now.
You just got to hang. Yeah, no, we never know what's going to come. I was hoping it was going to be an upbeat advert, so apologies for that. I want to talk a bit of front pages. Of course, Bojo has, potentially got a deal.
Oh, I love the guy. I love the guy, actually. I'll come out and say it, all right? I know, I get it, all right? I know that he's a bit of a buffoon. I know he's got floppy hair. I know he went to Eton. I know he's the kind of definition of the elite. I get all that, but I just don't care anymore. Boris Johnson did the unthinkable, all right? Everyone said that it couldn't be done. Everyone said that Boris was just an idiot and he was never going to be able to pull it off. He was saying, we're hearing adverts on this station and everywhere. They've even got them on bus stops saying, get ready for Brexit on October 31st. And everyone went, shut up. It's never going to happen. Well, you know what? It is. Boris Johnson managed to go to the EU and thrash out a deal, and it is better than Theresa May's deal. We end free movement, okay, that gets rid of the Irish backstop issue, okay, we're allowed to go and trade with whoever we want whenever we want. There is a transition period until 2020 at least, which gives us a little bit of time anyway. We do reclaim control of our fishing waters, and crucially we get to reclaim control of our laws, borders and money, which is something that wasn't really the case before. And we don't lose Northern Ireland to a permanent customs union set up with the EU, i.e. losing a bit of our sovereign territory. Boris has actually gone and done it. And the worst thing that we thought was going to happen was that if this deal got voted down in Parliament, then he would have to go and request an extension. Jean-Claude Juncker, President of the European Union, has come out and said there will be no extension granted. So screw you, Remainers, okay? Screw you people that are just happy to see this country fester and rot in this perpetual malaise that we've had over the years. It's all very well and good sitting there in your kind of sprawling mansion in the Hampstead area, swilling your Chablis around while your Chihuahua in your handbag that you take to Starbucks with you. You know, you've got a child called something like Ronan, and you go walking with all your kind of yummy mummies on the Hampstead Heath. It's all right for you to delay Brexit. It's all right for you to continue this nothingness that we've had in a while because it doesn't financially affect you. But you're in business, Rich. You know, I'm just a normal bloke. Most people are. We want to get the wheels of this country moving, and Boris is trying to do that. And now it's up to our MPs who sit for the first time on a Saturday since the Falklands War, since we sent the Argies packing, sit for the first time to vote this through. And if they don't vote this through, I don't think people will ever forgive them. And Jeremy Corbyn has come out and said, oh, well, we're going to vote this down. Jeremy Corbyn's current Brexit plan is to get a deal and then campaign to overturn the deal and have a second referendum. So he'd vote his own deal down. So it's not really a surprise that he's going to vote Boris's down. The Liberal Democrats, the clue is in the name, or should be, Democrat. We had a democratic referendum. They passed a law, or passed a motion, I should say, at their party conference that they want to revoke Brexit without a second referendum. I mean, the world's gone mad. The world has gone absolutely mad. It is about time that we got this done. And you know what? I just love the guy. I just really do. I think that we've been waiting for so long for somebody like Boris to come along and just play a bit of roulette. Everyone was going, oh, you know, his language is a bit strong. His language, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because we need someone to grab the bull by the horns and go, yeah, right, we're going to leave on October 31st, right? With a deal or without a deal, because we've had enough, okay? And the EU go, I suppose we better give him a deal then, haven't we? And they've done it. So here we go. Well done, Boris Johnson. But I like the images going around last night of him wandering around the EU Parliament with everyone patting him on the back. You can just see Boris there going, yeah, deal, I want a deal, I want a deal, I would love to have sex with you, deal, sex, deal, sex, deal. Just classic Boris Johnson. Love the guy.
Classic Boris.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Deal, sex, deal.
I don't know where to go from here.
More wine, deal, lovely chorizo, sex, deal.
I mean, what are your thoughts? 028 70 20
Dale
558. Are you quite so positive as Patrick is? It does seem like the majority of the papers are very positive about this.
Look, I think you know what it is, all right. And look, by the way, I know I've been a bit OTT there, and I do. And I do.
Have you? I mean, look.
Deal sex. I know there's a deal on the table. I know what else I wanted on the table. Sorry. So, let's get a word in my ear to stop all of that. So I will now do that. Sorry. No, but this is the thing, right, about Boris, which is, the producers come in. It's not me.
Oh, no.
Come on, Kieran, come.
Save the day, please.
To save this segment.
No, but sorry, just quickly.
Just quickly.
No, just quickly. This is the thing, which is that I get it, right? I know, obviously, I've been a bit OTT about it. That I do understand that for a lot of people, you do want to stay in the European Union and that you don't like Boris. And that is absolutely fair enough. Clearly, genuinely, that is obviously fair enough. Perfectly entitled to your opinion. From my take on this, we have had 3 and a bit years, and if this drags on anymore, and if you still want a second referendum and all this kind of thing, what you have to acknowledge is that is just going to be years and years and years more of this. And practically speaking, I'm very sorry. I know this might not be what you want, but I just don't think the country needs that.
Kieran.
Deal.
I'm not going to say that next word. Yes, I'm coming in to talk about the biggest game this weekend, which of course isn't in the Premier League.
No.
It's in the Rugby World Cup.
It is indeed.
And we're going to bash those Aussies.
Yeah!
And it's because Eddie Jones has picked some very big lads. And George Ford is kind of fallen by the wayside because of his lightweight frame a little bit in terms of rugby. I mean, he's 13 stone 7. I'm not going to pick on him in a fight, even though he's 5'10", but he's hard. But he's not quite as hard as Henry Slade, who's 6'3" and 15 stone. Wow. So we have picked Henry Slade despite the fact he hasn't played more than a half of a rugby since his serious injury back in May. It's a bit of a risk from Eddie Jones, but the kind of analysis in the papers today is saying that Jones is fond of Henry Slade's left boot, while Manu Tuolagi's brawn should prevent Samu Kerevi and Australia's mobile Type 5 punching holes in England's defensive line to create space out wide, as South Africa did in 2018. He's very aware of the midfield battle, because if you look at Australia's 10, 12 and 13, Lai Lafano, who plays fly half, is 14 stone 13 pounds. Right? Little lad. He's only 5'11". Samu Kerevi, 6'1" at 17 stone. And the teenager that they've brought in, which is kind of a bit of the unknown, and I quite like that from Checker. He's obviously kind of picked a little bit of a trump card. This lad, right, is 6'3" and 16 stone. Oh. He's 19, right? Absolute unit. Has only played about 20 games in Australia. This will just be his 3rd test match, and he's really gone out on a limb a little bit, Checker, but that midfield is absolutely ginormous. So it's going to be a real, the amount of big hits that are going to go in. It's, I'm predicting a red card. There's bound to be one. With the new high tackle rules, there's there's going to be, because rugby's played at a pace, and then when the TMO slows it down, it does look quite bad.
Yeah.
But then you think they've gone in, and it only takes someone to duck at the wrong moment.
Is it.
And it just looks like you've basically tackled them around the neck. It's difficult.
This is why I feel a bit sorry for them sometimes. I think you get a feel for something, whether it's deliberate or not, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I think the super slow-mo replays almost take all of that context out of it. And you do see it at times with in football, where a tackle, at the pace the game is played, it can easily look absolutely horrendous when they've not meant it. And it's a bit like that in rugby. Like, you are supposed to, because this is the other thing in rugby, is that if you missed that tackle, or you didn't go for it, or you came out of it, you'd never get picked again.
Yeah, no, indeed. I think it will be interesting. This is the big game you're looking forward to. I can imagine that you're pretty excited about this one.
Just 1 point before we go to the break. There's an interesting average points statistic between when Ford, Farrell and Tuilagi start. So that's Farrell in the centre with Tuilagi. And then this combination of Farrell, Tuilagi and Slade. So with George Ford in the team, we average 43.7 points a game.
Wow.
But without Ford, we only averaged 31.8. Now, that is a 12-point drop. You feel like Eddie Jones has made a selection to nullify Australia's threats. Rather than perhaps saying, right, we're just going to go and trust our best attacking lineup. It's an interesting decision.
Thing is, with something like that, it could be skewed, right? Because
of course,
they're going to play a game now where they're probably not going to score 40
absolutely,
points, even if he does play.
This is the selection that they go with against the strongest team. So, of course, that statistic, obviously, a reductive statement on my part to say that. But it is an interesting one that Ford is definitely our biggest attacking threat when he plays at fly half. And Farrell's kicking was really out of touch in the Argentina game. Clunky, I think Farrell described it himself as. And he's going to have to step up against Australia because there's not going to be as many tries. The kind of penalties from out wide are really important in tight games, and Farrell needs to prove it.
Does indeed. We're going to go from rugby to a little bit of cricket next.
I'd never be a vegetarian. I think that is a huge mistake. So clever, so funny.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
This is Lionel, another very happy person who saved themselves money at aspokesmansaid.com.
Hi, I'm Lionel from Peacehaven. I took note of what the spokesman said and I saved £484 per year on my energy, and I recommend everybody does the same.
aspokesmansaid.com. Getting real people, real savings. Compare, switch and save with aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Now, we spoke plenty of football, plenty of front pages, plenty of rugby. We haven't touched on any cricket yet, but we will do now. Delighted to say we've got Nick Friend, cricket writer for the Cricketer magazine, on the line. Morning, Nick.
Morning, guys. How are
Morning.
you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Hope you're well too. Want to talk a little bit about the 100. Of course, the draft for the 100 takes place on Sunday. I've seen some of the information given on Sky Sports News yesterday. How are we expecting it to go?
It'll be interesting. I think it's the first of its kind in English cricket, certainly. It might even be English sport. They're quite common now in the sort of the franchise cricketing circuit. Obviously, the IPL is an auction, which is slightly different. I was at the mock draft on Wednesday, and it should, fingers crossed, run fairly smoothly. They've set out a really good system that they put together over the course of the last year online. And yeah, I mean, Trent Rockets will go first. Each team will get a pick their sort of marquee overseas player in all likelihood up front, and then they go from there. And each team will pick 12 players on the day, and by the end of it, hopefully there'll be something sort of more exciting to look forward to in a competition that has obviously garnered a lot of scepticism over the last year and a half or so.
Yeah, well, it has done. You're right, but then I suppose the last week or two, when it's become quite real, some of the players, some of the kits, some of the names, etc., it's starting to gather a little bit of interest. Who will be the most desirable players, and who do you think we're going to see? Are we going to see an emphasis more so on bowlers or batsmen?
It's an interesting one. As I said, I did this mock draft on Wednesday, which was basically a dry run, essentially, for the ECB, and it's really hard. Once you've got 100 seconds to make your pick, and you've got, especially early on, when you've got a choice of Rashid Khan, Chris Gale, Lasith Malinga, Babar Azam, who might not be around for much of the tournament, but guys like this, you've got so much choice. It's almost harder than towards the back end. I mean, I think Rashid Khan will go very early. Be interesting to see what happens with the likes of Gale and Malinga, who I guess a lot of us viewers sort of pass their sell-by dates, but there is this commercial marketing element of this tournament that they need to get the big names. They want to get the big names. So whether they get a gig is going to be interesting. The likes of Steve Smith and David Warner will be early on as well. You suspect Warner's probably got a better chance than Smith of being picked up. And then you've got likes of Andre Russell, who, if he's fit, is probably the number one pick. But is he going to be fit? Who really knows? I mean, certainly last time he was over here for the World Cup, he was not. And then domestically, Ravi Opara, Dan Malan, sort of the guys you'd expect almost. Sort of the major international guys have already got their team sorted England-wise. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. There are so many ways teams can go with how they look to set up their teams.
Sorry, just out of interest, I get that Warner's maybe more of an over hitter than Smith, but given the way that he went in the World Cup and as well, he's been a bit out of form as well in the Test side and things. Do you reckon that he will still get picked up quicker than Steve Smith?
Yeah, I think he will. Smith's T20 record. The difficulty with this, of course, is it's not T20 cricket. So there are all sorts of theories going on about how teams are going to fare with 20 balls fewer. I think the theory, essentially, is that you need guys who are going to go. You're almost picking a top 6 and a bottom 5. So you're picking 5 guys who are going to bowl you 100 balls and 6 guys who are going to get you as many runs as you can possibly in 100 balls. And Smith, a bit like Kane Williams actually, is the sort of guy that's going to take a bit longer to get in. Whereas Warner had a brilliant IPL, which will help his chances. And of course, we've also got a few Australian coaches in Darren Lehman, in Tom Moody, and Andrew McDonald as well, and guys who know him. Lehman certainly knows how to get the best out of him. And he's punchy, isn't he?
No, very true. Can you talk to us about these reserve prices? Because it's obviously I saw this yesterday on Sky Sports News. The reserve price is set for the players, and how the franchises have to choose from each different price category.
Well, it's an interesting one. So the reserve prices actually mean far less than you'd think. So if you can almost ignore them to a point, but all they mean essentially is that. So Chris Gale, for example, has got 125,000 reserve price on him. All that means is that you cannot sign Chris Gale for less than that.
Right.
So he drops out of the draft after the first round, essentially. So once 120, so he's saying it's basically like an auction. I'm willing to be sold, but not for less than this.
Wow.
Then I drop out of the draft. So, but equally that means someone like Mohammed Nabi, for example, who's got a £75,000 reserve price on him, he can get picked up for 125, for 100, for anything for 75, but not for beneath that. So there's nothing to stop you being picked up for more money. All it does is gives you a buffer. If you're one of these international guys who, I guess, have got very busy years, very busy calendars full of these kind of tournaments, is essentially them saying, what is it in it for me? Is it worth me playing this?
Yeah,
so here's reserve price. If you want me, take me, but I'm not going to go. You couldn't pick up Chris Gale, for example, in round 6 because that's below his price bracket. But at the same point, if you don't have a reserve price, you can get picked up whenever. So the guys who've got no reserve price really are saying they've got nothing to lose. Pick them up for 30 grand, pick them up for 120 grand. That'll do them. That's essentially the way that works. And then you've got the other slight nuance, but which is that the price brackets you're picking from are actually laid out already. So it's not an auction in the sense that you've got a chance to be fluid with your prices. There are rigid prices in place: 125, 100, 75, 60, 50, 40, 30. So that's what you're paying for each player, depending on which round you pick them in. So as I said, in a sense more simple than it looks.
How much of that price tag do the players get then? What are the individual? So if you bought, sounds horrible, this doesn't it? If you bought Chris Gale for 125 grand,
I know it's really weird when you put it like that. Isn't it?
it is weird. Yeah. How much money does Chris Gale get? Do we know?
I think he gets. I want to say at the very least the vast majority.
Really? Okay. Because I was wondering, when you've got so many other competitions going on, you've got the Big Bash, the IPL, clearly very lucrative. Let's be honest as well, better weather, things, maybe even bigger crowds as well. I would have thought certainly the IPL, they just pack it to the rafters, don't they? So do you think that there's a lot of pressure on this very first 100 tournament? Because if it doesn't go well, do you think you're really going to get a lot of these superstars coming back for more?
It's an interesting one. I mean, because, yes. I mean, to a point, yes. There is a lot of pressure. I think there's a huge amount of pressure on the draft as well, because I went to the Caribbean Premier League draft earlier this year, and they are hard to get right. Like, things go wrong. They're fiddly. You're relying on technology. They've got a 3-hour time slot to do something that actually can take a lot longer than that. They've got to get the draft right first up, because this isn't a competition. They're not going into it with a great deal of goodwill. The CPL draft had a few moments of confusion, but they've got 6 years of goodwill behind them, so people are prepared to look past that and prepared to enjoy the draft. They need this bit to go very well, just to... I think once the teams are out there, everyone will be really excited.
Yeah, and
also, not everyone. So people that maybe didn't have a view will be very excited. But at the same time, they need it to be a good tournament, but at the same time, for these guys, someone like Chris Gale, who devotes his time to these competitions now, it's only 6 weeks, isn't it? So you've got a long year to fill with these tournaments. So to be honest, without making it sound really bad, I guess as long as the financial opportunities are there for guys whose career now is essentially going from T20 tournament to T20 tournament, this will be a very good option for them.
Yeah, well, indeed. What do you make of no English coaches in any of the men's teams?
I think it makes more... I think it's a hard one. Like, would we... Yes, we would like more English coaches, but then who would they be? I mean, the top English coaches are in county jobs or are now running the national team. There are some in the women... There are a couple in the women's competition, but if I'm brutally honest, I don't think it was ever realistic there to be English coaches in the first edition, at least, the men's competition. It's actually the one saving grace of what having these 8 foreign coaches does bring is that it's contacts. 7 of them have coached in the IPL. In Shane Warne, you've got arguably the greatest cricketer of all time. There are guys who have pulling power and will want guys, who will make people want to play for them. And granted, through a draft, players have got no choice, but you are getting the best coaches, or some of the best coaches in World T20 cricket, which I think for this tournament, as you say, given the pressure on the tournament the first year, is probably a really important thing.
Yeah, great stuff. Nick, really appreciate you joining us.
No worries. Have a good day.
Nick Friend, cricket writer for the Cricketer magazine, giving us his take on the 100. Are you looking forward to the 100, Patrick?
Yeah, I am. I think it'll be a novel experience, don't get me wrong, but I just worry that it's going to end up with being quite an expensive mistake, because what we have to factor in as well is things like the weather, that with respect, you don't really have to do that as much in Australia or India or in the Caribbean. So I've got my reservations about it. I've also got my reservations about attendances. I think it might get off to a good start and fade away. I don't know. I hope it does well, because I think it's going to be good for the sport. But yeah, I just worry. We'll have to wait and see. I just worry where we're going to end up, going forward. And also, as well, I do get it that it's, a bit crash bang wallop and it's exciting, but I think this kind of epitomises where a lot of English cricket is going wrong, in a sense, which is that we're shortening an already very short game by 20 balls, and maybe we should be focusing on who the heck is going to bat at the top of our order in Test cricket.
What do you guys think? 0208 70 25 58. 3 minutes to wait.
This is Love Sport.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. We're here with you until 10 a.m. What a 2 hours we have ahead of us. We're going to be talking to James Simpson-Daniel, former England winger. Roy Carroll is going to be on the show.
Yes!
Former Manchester United goalkeeper, of course. We're going to be speaking to him later on in the show to talk about a few of the United issues. Of course, De Gea will be missing for the Liverpool game, so we're going to be talking to him about that. We'll also be speaking to Gemma Hillier, Portsmouth and England beach soccer player. And I watched some of the footage of this, actually. Some really good stuff going on. They lost 3-2 to Spain, some great goals in that game.
Eric Cantona played beach soccer for a while.
Is that right?
Class. Yeah.
I bet he was.
Yeah, it's right up his street.
There you go. As always, you can get in touch. 028 70 20 558. We're on YouTube. Feel free to check us out on YouTube or at Love Sport Radio on the socials.
On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 8, Boris Johnson's in a race against time to sell his last-minute Brexit deal to MPs before a crunch vote in the Commons tomorrow. The Prime Minister may not have enough support for the agreement in the extraordinary sitting of Parliament, the first on a weekend since 1982. His key allies in the Democratic Unionist Party have already rejected it. DUP leader Arlene Foster and her deputy Nigel Dodds say the proposals aren't in the best interests of Northern Ireland.
I think it's very clear to them that we are not going to vote for this on Saturday. But as Nigel says, Saturday is not the end. Saturday is not even the beginning of the end because there's a whole range of issues that have to be sorted out.
Councils in England discovered more than 1,000 potential child victims of modern slavery last year. There's been an 8-fold increase in the number of referrals since 2014. More than 700 people have been arrested across the UK as part of a week-long crackdown on County Lines gangs, which often use youngsters to sell drugs. The National Crime Agency also seized nearly 170 weapons. The US president welcomed the announcement of a ceasefire in northern Syria. All fighting will be paused for 5 days, while Kurdish-led troops withdraw from the border. The deal came after US Vice President Mike Pence and Turkey's President Erdogan met for talks in Ankara. Donald Trump told a campaign rally in Dallas last night he's proud of what's been achieved.
Without spilling a drop of American blood, not one drop of American blood. We've all agreed on a pause or a ceasefire, and it was unconventional what I did. I said, they're going to have to fight a little while. Sometimes you have to let them fight a little while.
It's claimed Halloween costumes sold by some of the UK's biggest retailers will contain the equivalent of 83 million plastic bottles. Environment groups are urging families to create their own fancy dress outfits from existing or second-hand clothing. That's the latest. I'm Daisy Steele.
This is Love Sport.
If there's one thing you can be certain of these days, it's uncertainty, particularly when it comes to getting a good deal. At SEAT, however, we're certain we can help with that. Get 0% APR finance across our entire SUV range, plus 2 free services on us until October 31st. Now there's a great deal, if ever there was one. Because they take, we give. SEAT.
Solutions Personal Contract Plan. Minimum 36-month contract on Arona and Ateca or 48-month contract on Taraco. Minimum 10% customer deposit. Registered by 31st of December 2019 from participating dealers. 18 plus, subject to status. Indemnities may be required. SEAT Finance. Visit seat.co.uk. Service plan covers first 2 consecutive services.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning, Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Let's touch on some of those headlines this morning. England, Australia, that's coming up this weekend. Eddie's biggest gamble dropping forward. We'll be discussing that in detail shortly. Ed Woodward keeps faith with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and says he's insulted to suggest non-football people making footballing decisions at Man United. Pochettino was in a positive mood in his latest press conference, adamant that this squad can turn it around. Is he right? We'll be discussing that too. The festive fixtures anger Pep as City have only a 48-hour gap around the Boxing Day period, whereas Liverpool have a full 24 hours longer to recover. Lots more going on as well. Certainly lots on the front pages too, which Patrick will be going into detail in very shortly. Once again, we are joined by our fantastic, enigmatic producer, Kieran Wellington.
What a man, what a mighty fine man.
Indeed.
I like enigmatic. It's a good adjective to describe me, I think.
Thank you. I don't know what it means, but I like it as a word.
So glad as a radio broadcaster you know your English vocab.
My vocabulary is good.
Like doing a show with Max Allegri.
Well, what do you make of Max Allegri's comments to say that, my English is not so good? Because, of course, Mandzukic is being lined up as, the number 9 that United desperately need in January. Now, he's Allegri's man.
Yeah.
What I'd say is Unai Emery's doing all right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Not a word.
Not a word.
Not a word.
Love his interviews. Hey, no, I have no idea what he's saying.
Is this okay?
He's doing brilliantly.
Is this all right?
Yeah,
he's doing fantastically well.
Okay.
Back to the point.
Look, Max Allegri is a manager with a proven track record. We know that he was being linked with Manchester United. Rumours of a £6.5 million a year deal, and he was planning on bringing with him, if he did get the job, Mario Mandzukic, 33 years old striker. The thing is, I think United could do with somebody like that. He offers something different. He's got experience, he is a proven goal scorer, and he's got quite a lot of height on his side as well, which helps. At the moment, you look at United's front line and you think, well, basically they're set up to win the ball back on the edge of their own box, play a couple of quick passes and hopefully release a pacey striker, which, let's be honest, hasn't worked, has it, so far?
Well, what's interesting is that City and Liverpool are so good, they don't need a plan B, whereas we're suggesting that United are too predictable and that if you sort of put up a deep defensive block against United, they don't have the creativity to get through that sort of defence. Now, it's kind of changed now. I don't see an awful lot of tactical flexibility from the likes of Klopp, Poch, Guardiola, necessarily.
I think if you're,
so is Mandzukic the wrong signing? Is my question.
It's a fair point. I think with certainly like the City and Liverpool, because ordinarily for those that, and this goes back to my day, the Championship managers, where you knew if you came up against a counter-attacking side, then you would change the formation to then, to work against that. And I guess when you're as good as City are, it goes back to, and I've mentioned this on a show before about Mark Warburton when we were at Brentford, and we were brilliant that season. In fairness, made the playoffs in the Championship, and the mantra was, if Plan A isn't working, Plan B is to do Plan A better. And I feel that if you're a Man City or you're Liverpool, that makes sense because you're that good. It doesn't matter what you try to do to counteract Liverpool, they're that good. So, I kind of agree with that philosophy when you're them. When you're Man United and you haven't necessarily got the quality of player that Liverpool or City have, then I do think you do need to be a little bit more tactically astute. And this is where Mourinho would have backed himself. And as much as it wasn't great for a large period of time, they did finish second in the league. And it was the right decision for Mourinho to go, absolutely. But there were games that were dreadful to watch, but United got the result. Maybe they've lost that for the short term.
Well, they have, haven't they? Because this is the thing with United's ability to just grind out results even when they're playing badly, even if they find themselves, that old adage, isn't it? We're 1-0 down with 2 minutes to go and United somehow pop up and do the business. That's gone. And you could argue that bringing in somebody like that is good. I'd like to see them go all in for Robert Lewandowski.
Right.
I think he's a bit sick and tired now at Bayern Munich, personally.
Again, though, it's that age again, though, isn't it?
So what, man? He's class. He's absolutely class. He scores goals. United just need someone who's just going to bang him in. It was that Zlatan Ibrahimovic approach, actually. He had a really good record at United.
He's probably been their most influential signing since Alex left.
I'd almost have him back, to be honest.
Yeah.
I actually almost would. He's banging the mill in the MLS. He hasn't really got too many fitness issues. I know he's not the long-term solution, but I'd happily have him back at Old Trafford.
The Sun did an Allegri Manchester United 11, and this is how it reads. De Gea in goal, Maguire, Lindelof centre-backs, Wan-Bissaka right-back, Shaw left-back, Pogba, Can, Dybala as a 3 in the midfield.
Right, okay.
Rashford, Mandzukic, James.
Yeah, so...
I mean, it's got a lovely sound about it.
Well, yeah, but... It's not going to happen. We're going to have...
We've also got the Richard Lee Man United 11, which has Sterling up front. So it's put me in charge. I mean, look, no, it's all hypothetical. I guess the relationships that he has got with certain players make sense.
Absolutely. But what's not hypothetical is Ed Woodward's comments. They are very, very literal. Well, if you want to take them that way. And he said he's insulted that non-footballing people are making footballing decisions at Manchester United. Now, I'm not sure I agree with that. And especially with Solskjaer's quotes with Gary Neville, right? He's like, the manager makes the final decision, and he's trying to be all, I'm the big man, I make the final decision, it all rests with me. There's nothing wrong with United's structure. Well, there is. They're backdated, their structure.
Ed Woodward's issue is that he's a commercial man, right? And he's very, very, as a lot of commercial people are now, they're very reactive to public opinion. And so his first thing that he was hailed at doing was installing Manchester United's Twitter account and boosting their social media presence. That was seen as his big thing. Now, that was also the same year, by the way, that David Moyes took charge and their marquee signing was Marouane Fellaini. So, I mean, that shows where his priority is there. And now he's come out and done a big piece in the Daily Mail today saying, we will never put commercial success over success on the football pitch. And that's wrong. It's clearly there's been no demonstration of that in my opinion in recent years. But B, it's a reaction, isn't it, to the kind of fast-moving public opinion that actually he is just this kind of commercial guy who cares more about spreadsheets than what he sees on a football pitch. So I would always take this with a pinch of salt. Ed Woodward, for my money, if there was enough of a campaign on social media to do anything, I think he would just do it.
Yeah, potentially. Since Woodward's got the top job, results on the field have been terrible. In his first season, United was 7th. And like you say, you referenced that season when Mourinho guided them to 2nd, and he said, that's one of the best managerial achievements of my career. It's starting to look more and more like, actually, that wasn't just hyperbole. It was actually true. And, there's obviously a problem there. And if I was a United fan, obviously you two are, I'm not, I'd want Woodward out before Solskjaer, personally.
Yeah, hyperbole.
Right.
It's a vocabulary thing again. Can you tell me during the break if that's okay?
Yeah. What about it? What it means?
Yeah. We'll move on now.
Not saying hyperbole.
One of the things that always gets, one of the words that always gets mispronounced is minutiae, because it's got a T in the middle, and people always pronounce it with a hard T. And David Prutton was on Posh Boys on Drive yesterday, which is where I was. I wasn't sunning myself living the dream, as you said at 6:30 this morning.
Sorry.
But he pronounced it correctly. And I literally did a fist pump in the control room. I was like, yes, Prutton!
Yeah.
So you got to learn from that, man.
You got to be careful with Pacific words and make sure that you get them spot on, because you can be so embarrassing when you don't.
It's so easy, but so good.
Yeah.
I can see the look of resignation on your face.
It's like nails down a chalkboard. It's like nails down a chalkboard for me. There's when someone says espresso, I just want to throw it out.
Oh, yeah. Tell me
I
about
do,
it.
honestly. Can I have an espresso, please? Yeah, you can. Right in your face.
Slightly harsh. Anyway, back to the football. Back to United. What else do you bring us, Kieran?
Well, I kind of want to talk a little bit about Poch, because I think his quotes, as much as they're positive, are more insane than Woodward's. That he doesn't need any signs in January and he trusts this group of players. Well, clearly this group of players aren't good enough, because they've got pumped 7-2 at home to Bayern Munich and they've been battered 3-0 at Brighton in their last 2 games. They've conceded 10 goals. They haven't got a first-team goalkeeper at the moment. Their full-backs are terribly positionally. Their centre-backs are waning.
Yeah.
They need some fresh
Do you know
legs.
What I do remember, and Tottenham aren't in this bracket yet, but do you remember back in the day where United were absolutely flying, then all of a sudden they lost 5-0 to Newcastle. Philippe Albert with a lovely little chip over Schmeichel. They lost 2-1 at home to someone, then they lost 6-3 to Southampton. Always remember back then someone told me a joke. I thought it was hilarious. It was like, what's Peter Schmeichel's phone number? It's 2163 something. I thought, and at the time I remember it killed me. Anyway,
we've moved on. We've moved on.
That was before the internet.
I kind of forgotten my point. No, my point was I believe they still went on and won the league. Like, it was such a mini blip, and of course Sir Alex and whatever, they then turned it around and they were fine. Like, it happens sometimes. You have this period where seemingly you just concede a bucket load of goals and not necessarily deserved, and you can turn it around pretty quickly because they're not a bad team at heart. In fact, we can hear from Poch on January recruitment.
I believe in the player that we have, and you know very well. I respect all the opinion. For sure, it's going to be people that is going to say we need to change or we need to do something or in or out, but I'm going to stick with my player because I know they have the quality to be fighting for the thing that we expect to fight.
and this is the point, right, is that they do have the quality that, okay, look, I appreciate that people talk about the amount of defeats they've had since, whatever it was, mid-last season. But, by the way, last season, they lost so many games. It was just the fact they didn't draw any games. So, actually, the amount of wins they've had have also been very, very impressive. I appreciate that at the moment, it's not a particularly good run, but there's not a lot of difference between the team that now and the team that was so close to City and Liverpool halfway through last season.
There isn't in terms of personnel, but there is in terms of performance, Rich. Like, they're 9th in the league.
I know, we're 8 games in. I mean, call your Jets, Kieran.
Well, Liverpool are 8 points clear. They've won the league. That's tick.
Yeah, done.
Man United are bottom half. Tick. Spurs are going to finish outside the top 6.
Simple.
Tick.
Simple. Look, yeah, okay, Spurs, you're right. They are where they are. They're 9th, and they're 4 points off Arsenal, who apparently they're 5 points off Man City. All right.
Yeah.
I want to just talk about the plight of the modern footballer.
Okay,
because you see now, I mean, we run a few of them on this station, you know, adverts for just calling for action on relative things, whether it's for, you know, very worthy causes, right? Now, I think it's about time that we maybe set up a charity for footballers, because I think what's going underreported is the effort that they are being forced to go through by the greedy conglomerates that are, you know, football bosses. So Frank Lampard has spoken out against the expansion of the Champions League that might see teams play 21 games instead of 17. He said, look, we can't just fit any more games into our schedule. Like, how on earth are we going to do this? And he's hit back at that. City are angry at playing twice in 48 hours over the Christmas period. Liverpool players, they've not too far off. It's twice in 72 hours. All right, fair enough. But, you know, they've still got to go to Leicester and then come back again at about 10:30 at night. So where's the rest in that? Are we working our footballers too hard? And ultimately, would you rather see a tired set of lads who have just flown back from playing someone like Midgetland, you know, and they come back and they've got to play against Stoke in the Cup, and then they go and play against City? What quality of performance are we now going to start seeing week in, week out from a bunch of lads who are absolutely shattered?
But the second, third and fourth tier of English football, they've got 46 games a season. So, I mean, why do the Premier League teams moan so much, Rich?
Yeah, I think, look, that's a good point. And especially with the teams in League 1, League 2, you've then got the leasing.com Cup, you've got FA Cup, League Cup. You ordinarily will play between 55 and 60 games, standard. And the Premier League teams have bigger squads. So Man City effectively have a Cup squad and a League squad. So, look, I get it. The more games, it makes it more difficult as a manager. But what ends up happening, behind closed doors, they prioritise. They'll prioritise certain competitions. They won't ever say that openly because it never looks good, but we can see that they'll put certain teams out in the early rounds of the Cups. So, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I think that when you've got the kind of money they've got, the kind of squads they've got, you can effectively have 2 teams that play in the different competitions. But it's a good point. We'll talk about this shortly. The time is 16 minutes past 8.
I have a strong connection with Scotland. I believe my tan shade is iron blue.
Love sport. Are you being fobbed off by a company? Are they letting you down? And are your complaints falling on deaf ears? We can help you out. Come to aspokesmansaid.com and we will give you a voice and a platform to raise your complaints. As recommended in the Daily Telegraph, aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
AsSpokesmanSaid.com is a leading price comparison website that allows you to compare every energy tariff on the market in seconds. We have more deals than any other comparison website offering energy prices, and our impartial independent switching service is free of charge. Nearly 50% of UK households have switched bills, and there are hundreds to be saved. Visit AsSpokesmanSaid.com, as recommended in The Guardian, The Times, and The Sun. AsSpokesmanSaid.com.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realize that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys, here with you until 10 a.m. Of course, big game for England this weekend. And delighted to say we've got a very special guest on the line to go through it with us. James Simpson-Daniel, former England wing, is on the line. Morning, James.
Good morning to you. I haven't been called special guest before, so I'll take that. Thank you.
Of course. Very special guest. And, you know, we're here talking about rugby in the way that we do, but, of course, someone to have real insight. And, of course, the big news
If it makes you feel any better, just to interrupt,
Go on.
it is quite a low bar because we once had a guest on who just dressed as a rhino.
This is true. So, I mean, take it as a compliment. It is.
Yeah.
But
We do mean it, seriously. But in that context, it's so special.
Indeed. Need to talk about George Ford, of course, the big news being left out. Your thoughts?
So my initial thoughts when I heard him say it, I actually believed what Eddie was saying. You know, I think he used the line horses for courses, and I thought, you know what? I get that. Because he's almost said that, you're not questioning what he's done, because he's clearly got this vision of how he sees this quarter-final going against Australia. George Ford has done nothing wrong in the World Cup so far. He's done nothing wrong in the build-up matches. And if he turned around and said, yeah, look, he's just not been good enough for me, then I think we would have been scratching our head thinking, what is Eddie doing? Like I mentioned a moment ago, I just think he's got this vision of how he sees the quarter-final going against the Aussies. To counter that, if he felt that we were going to be too lightweight in the midfield, if you played Ford and then Farrell at 12, I'm kind of thinking, well, he's going to go for two bashes in the centres, which he hasn't. He's put Manning to 12, and then he's got Slade, who's not exactly a crasher. He's more of a playmaker. You know, he's played in the fly half jersey plenty of games for Exeter. So the balance there is big and small, inside centre and outside centre. I wonder whether he wants Slade's left foot, which is obviously key for your kicking game. It gives the option to move the ball 2 passes, bring up the opposition winger, which creates space behind. Now, what that tells me is it could be quite a territorial kicking battle that we're going to see in the early parts of the game. And then if the game was getting away from England, for example, you can bring Ford on to try and play that expansive game that we've seen so far in the World Cup.
I want to speak about Henry Slade. Are you worried about Henry Slade's lack of game time going up against the heavyweights of Australia's 12 and 13?
You know what I'm worried about with Henry Slade is the fact that I feel that he can either blow extremely hot or terribly cold. There's not that type of, you know, with Farrell, you know what you're getting pretty much all the time, apart from the one game where he missed his goal kicks. On the field, though, you know what you're going to get. He's going to hit hard, he'll make his passes, he'll make his tackles, and you kind of see what he's going to do. Similar with Manu Tuolangi, I think with Slade, sometimes he's prone to throwing that miss pass and the ball goes straight into touch, trying a reverse pass that might not be on. But when those things go to hand, it's fantastic. So I'm not really concerned about the game time. I'm more concerned about, is it the right decision to throw him into such an important match? That, you know, but at the end of the day, he's backing Slade. He's given him quite a lot of chances before. And, you know, you ask anyone that watches the Exeter Chiefs, they'll say that he's definitely worth his place in that side.
If you're George Ford, how do you reckon he's feeling?
I think as long as he's broken the news to him in the correct manner, I think he can respect what he's saying. He won't agree with it necessarily. He'll probably think that I could do a job for England against the Aussies. But I think that George is such a professional. You know what I'm trying to say here is that if we get through this game on the weekend, it wouldn't surprise me if he popped Ford back in and put him back in the 10 jersey. You know, I really feel that Eddie has probably said to him, look, you might have even said to him in the build-up, by the way, George, if we go against the Aussies here, there's a good chance that I'm probably going to put you on the bench to begin with. I'm sure he's going to get on. You know, it might be 20 minutes, it might be 25. It'll hurt George Ford, obviously, but he's a professional. He'll get it, and he'll know that there's every chance if that comes up against, for example, you know, whoever it might be in the final, if he feels that he doesn't want to get stuck in an arm wrestle, it might be that he plays Ford.
Yeah.
He'll be bitterly disappointed not to start, but he's an ultra professional. This is where you might compare him to someone like, and I'll use it as an example, Cipriani. If that was Cipriani being told that news, you could imagine he might go off the rails a little bit. I think with George, he's pretty more level-headed about that type of thing.
Do you think that modern rugby, the way it is, and the level of scrutiny and preparation that goes into it, actually the players might recognise that it is such a valuable role to come on later on in a game and do a job for that period, that specific period of a game? It could be as valuable as starting in that sense.
I think you're 100% right. I think coming off the bench these days, compared to what it was like, say, 10 years ago, it was almost seen as a handicap if you brought someone off the bench 10 years ago. You know, you're dropping down in what you're doing. I think now it's the absolute opposite. If you've got a strong bench, and that's what you'll get from the likes of New Zealand, the top sides that have a strong bench, you're thinking, goodness me, you know, that's serious impact. That's something to worry a defence even more, because you've got Ford coming on. The way that Ford and Farrell play together, they almost read each other's gameplay. One of them will pop up at 10, the other one will be at 12, and vice versa. And I think it was the final warm-up game before the World Cup started. He didn't start Ford, and it was evident when he brought him off the bench, England clicked better, and they found that expansive game more so. So he's a perfect impact player. I like him as a 10. You know, I'm not against him being rested this game because Eddie's explained why. So I think as far as the squad's concerned, they'll see that as, you know what, we've got this ace up our sleeve to be able to be played when we want to.
I just want you to have a little listen to a clip that we've got of the Aussie coach Checker just having a chat about Eddie Jones and England. So we just hear that now quickly.
Yeah, well, I saw that he was saying that would be an advantage and that the Typhoon gods were smiling on him. So, yeah, I suppose they better win. They've had the best preparation, according to the coach, so they better go out there and win. If that's the best possible preparation, we'll see how we go.
Is he actually a bit of a weakness for Australia, this bloke? He just seems like he just hates Eddie Jones. And you kind of want... Yeah, go on.
I'm glad that you said that. God, he frustrates me. I saw that interview when he first did it. And, you know, even when it's the type of fella that when you watch him during the games, there's emotion and then there's being really annoying. And all of his interviews, I can't remember seeing an interview from where he's quite humble and he's quite level-headed and he's quite professional. It's always whining this or moaning that or complaining about that. You know, for me, I'm glad that he's not part of any England set. You know, England bringing Eddie Jones, who's an Aussie, and yes, people have got mixed views on Eddie, but God, imagine if we had that guy in charge. I think people would have probably turned the channel over earlier. He frustrates me. Clearly the Australians like him. He must do something well behind closed doors. Maybe he feels that he plays the media in his way. But I'm like you. I think he's more frustrating to watch than inspiring.
Well, I mean, Eddie Jones has a 6-0 record against him as England coach, so there's obviously something in that, and I just can't help but wonder whether, you know, there's that old adage, isn't it? You know, when Kevin Keegan did his, I'd love it if we beat them, and apparently the United players rocked up to train the next day and were like, right, we've won the league. I just can't help but wonder whether or not there's a little bit of that going on at the minute.
Well, this is the thing. There's bitterness there. Clearly, they've got whatever relationship it might be. There might be that part of him saying behind closed doors to the lads, look, lads, I want to do stuff publicly. You don't need to worry about it. As long as you're concentrating on your game, don't let me affect you, what my comments are. It's almost a plan. I'm not sure he's sharp enough for that, to be honest with you. I think that's just the way he is. And I think if, as a senior player in that Australian squad, you know, the captains, the vice-captains, those guys almost need to keep the rest of the squad in check and not worry about their coach.
Just want to touch on the Vinopolas, both set to start for the first time this tournament. So the pack does look incredibly strong, but it will be the first real test at scrum time. Your thoughts?
Well, massive relief about Billy being fit. All the way through the pre-World Cup matches, Billy was playing each week, and each week he was starting. You're thinking, okay, well, he won't play the next week, or he'll come off at half-time. And he kept on playing. He's playing 80 minutes each time. And you're thinking, well, there's a chance of him getting injured here. And then he starts all the games so far, and you're thinking, gosh, we're rolling the dice here with Billy Vunipola, because if he misses a game, we are handicapped from that as far as that's concerned. Our backup 8 is not as good as Billy, and I think the advantage of him playing all these matches is he's going to be razor sharp. He's ultra match fit, so huge relief that he's out there because he's such a leader, and his brother starting, he just brings a different dynamic to your game. He's not like this traditional prop that will just prop down, do his scrum, lift at the line out and clear the breakdown. He will carry nearly as many times as his brother does. So you've almost got an extra carrier, an extra back row carrier, the same way that you've got in his brother, and it gives the likes of Underhill and Curry the opportunity to just be menaces around the breakdown. So I think what he's got in his pack is a balance of big ball carriers to the guys that are going to be a mess at the breakdown and they're going to have to be first there. Otherwise, we're going to lose penalties in that tackle area.
And where are Australia's biggest threats?
I think their back row. I think their back row is incredibly strong. The halfbacks have been a little bit dodgy so far this World Cup. You know, there's been question marks about them. It seems like they found a bit of a scrum, which is frustrating for us because obviously if you have a good scrum, you can win penalties. Obviously, you can then get field position by kicking the penalties into touch, getting line out. So it's going to be a massive battle up front, and that's always the classic answer from a rugby player. That is where it starts. There's no point in having a poor pack and great backs because you won't get the ball. So it is going to be about that up-front battle early on. It's going to be about clever minds as far as the halfbacks are concerned and putting the ball in the right areas of the field. And then after that, we'll watch with interest to see how the game develops, as whether it expands or stays tight.
Well, lastly, I think you know what's coming. I'm going to ask for a prediction, not only on this game, but how far England can go. I know, obviously, you faced New Zealand and several others. So are England good enough to win
and
this?
If you could tell us what the weather's going to be like in a month and a half's time as well, that'd be lovely.
I'm glad that. I was just going to get the crystal ball out. No, look, what I am surprised about is how hot of favourites they feel that England are in this Australian game. I think if you're playing in a World Cup in a neutral venue against Australia, England-Australia, there should probably only be a couple of points in it. I think they're making us about 8 points favourites. So they think we're going to win by more than 8 points. Now, I think that England will win very narrowly. I think it's going to be a very tight, close affair. And then as far as the World Cup's concerned, I think the advantage of this squad compared to the one that won it in 2003 is there's more strength in depth, arguably, with this squad. I think in 2003 you had your 5, 6, 7, well, you had more. You probably had your 10 key starters. And that was really important you had them. Whereas with this one, I think you've probably got 25 players there that could almost... You've got 2 or 3 starters that must play, like Billy Vunipola, Farrell, maybe a Toje, but then the rest of them, they can be made up around the squad. You know, if you don't play Johnny May, you could play Jack Knoll or Cockner Singer. You know, I think the strength and depth is what's in England's favour for trying to get as far as we can in this World Cup. But at this stage, one game at a time. Win tomorrow, break it down, who have we got in the semis, and then anything can happen in the final.
Fantastic. James, you certainly lived up to the billing. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Great stuff. James Simpson-Daniel there, former England wing, giving his thoughts on this weekend. The time is 8:30.
Love sport.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Think the energy price cap will save you money? Think again. You could be saving a lot more on cheaper energy tariffs. Price comparison site A Spokesman Said will show you just how much money you could be saving against your current tariff. Don't throw away your hard-earned money to the energy companies. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could switch to cheaper bills in minutes.
aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
This is Love Sport.
This is Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Producer Kieran has an interesting story for us, I believe.
I certainly do. Do you like your golf, Rich? What's your play
I love
off?
my golf. When I was a kid, I played off 9. I got pretty good.
That's very good.
Not
When
so
you
good
say
these
a
days.
kid,
Like 14.
You were playing off 9 at 14.
Yeah, and then football kind of took over, unfortunately. Sometimes regret my decision.
Do you?
Well,
Given the fact that you have just strained your shoulder trying to reach for a piece of paper, dare I say that you might have had even more injury woes as a golfer than you did as a goalkeeper?
well, okay, you make a good point. In fairness, you were teasing me. Just so our listeners know, there was something I tried to reach for.
Yeah.
I can't reach very far without feeling like my shoulder's going to slip out. So it wasn't particularly nice what you did.
No.
We do need to talk about this off
I just
air.
want you to know I'd do it again. Anyway, Kieran.
Kieran, what have you got?
What's your worst round that you've ever had?
I mean, it's been poor, like over 100, yeah.
Yeah, well, there was a score of over 100 on the senior LPGA tour this week, right? So Lee Ann Walker, she received 58 penalty shots in the senior LPGA championship, as she basically didn't know the rules of golf. So the American broke a rule brought in this year banning caddies from standing behind players to line up shots because they think it's an unfair advantage that a caddy can look straight down the player's line. So her playing partners noted the error, but not until the 5th hole of her second round. And she basically had to total up the 23 previous holes and work out how many times her caddy had done this. She said, now that I don't play the LPGA anymore because it's the seniors tour, I don't watch golf, she said. So she was unaware of the rules entirely. She told the officials as soon as she was informed of the error. She had to add 42 shots to her first round of 85 and 16 more in the 5 holes of her second round.
Sorry, why is it such an advantage to have a caddy?
because if you've got someone, you imagine if you're stood over the ball, you can't necessarily see. You have an idea where you're aiming, but if you've got a caddy behind, it's almost done in line with your feet. So if your feet are lined up towards the hole, they might be, move your left foot back a tiny bit, shuffle over, and they can kind of talk you into position effectively. So I get it. I just don't understand how it's happened so many. Was it the fact that she had done it and then they went back and added the 42? Because once you've learned what's happened.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. So the point is, she was only informed of her error in her second round, the 5th hole of her second round. So she had to total back how many times the caddy had lined her up. And it basically meant that she finished with a total round score. Well, her first round was 127.
Yeah.
And the second round was 90. So that added up to 217. Unsurprisingly, she missed the cut, was bottom of the field. And the 200
go home. You just why carry on?
And the 217 was 3 shots more than the eventual winner's 4 rounds. So she literally was double as bad.
That's a shocker, isn't it?
That's a bad weekend. Oh, that really is. Look, love to discuss this in more detail, but like I say, we're going to be speaking to Roy Carroll very, very shortly after this short 30-second interval.
This is Love Sport.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you all the way until 10 a.m. Of course, we touched on lots this morning. We touched on the big game in the Rugby World Cup this weekend. Lots going on in the world of cricket, of course, lots going on in the world of football. But you know how I get, don't you, Patrick, when I can sense that there's a goalkeeper on the line, the excitement that I get that somebody else in the goalkeepers union, we can talk gloves, we can talk latex.
Well, you do what dogs do when you tickle them in the right spot. Your leg goes.
I get really, really excited.
Start your motorbike.
Well, that's happened right now because a bit of a hero of mine, Manchester United, former Manchester United goalkeeper Roy Carroll is on the line. Morning, Roy.
Hi, Rich. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks. Hope you're well. Look, lots to discuss. First and foremost, I want to ask what you're up to these days.
Yeah, I'm just opening a few goalkeeping schools in Northern Ireland. Had a bad injury there. Started the year with my ACL, ruptured my ACL. So I'm just coming back from rehab and just enjoying coaching these young kids in Northern Ireland.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we've got injuries in common as well, you see, Patrick. This is like, it's meant to be. Well, look, I want to talk a little bit about Manchester United, of course. De Gea looks set to miss not only this weekend, I don't know if I believe the reports that I've seen, but some are saying that it could be as much as 2 months, which is going to be a big blow for United. Obviously, no doubt you've watched De Gea at close quarters. Your thoughts on him not being involved this weekend, potentially not being involved for a little while?
It's disappointing not being involved against a big team like Liverpool. But the thing with De Gea at the moment, he's not been playing really well at the moment, and it's probably, from my point of view, I think it's probably a blessing in disguise. So he can have a little step back from the game at the moment, because I think he needs a rest, because he's just been playing a lot of football the last 3 or 4 years with Manchester United, and everything's came on top of him at the moment. And I think with this injury, he might be able to sit back and have a rest from the game, and might help him in the future for Manchester United.
Yeah, Sergio Romero, whenever he's come in, I think he's played all right, to be honest with you. Do you rate him?
Yeah, every time he's come in, but it's different coming in and playing for 2 months solid. It's he's coming in as a maybe 1 game, 2 games at a time, like, and it's I would like to see him what he's like over 2 months if he's going to be in the squad for 2 months. But it'd be nice to see him how he plays against Liverpool on Sunday, because you need to go and have a good keeper, because Liverpool's been playing really well the last few years since Klopp took over, and I think it's going to be a very difficult game for Manchester United on Sunday.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously Jurgen Klopp's worked wonders there, hasn't he? And unfortunately, it's not quite been the same at Manchester United in recent years. The stories all over the back of the papers today saying Ed Woodward is backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer 100%. What's your take on the current situation at United?
Well, when the big boys start backing you, it's a bit scary stories like that. It's scary to take, but I think it's going to be very hard for Ole at the moment, because things at the moment at Manchester United is not looking well. The football, I watched them against Newcastle, and I tell you the truth, I had to turn it off, because it's not Manchester United I used to know. They're an attacking team. They're a very good attacking team, Manchester United, back in the day, but they haven't got that. They haven't got that experience of the players who can attack teams. And I think teams are not scared of Manchester United anymore, so teams are attacking them more, and that's the big problem. Once you lose that name of Manchester United, then teams will just come out and attack you, and they don't care who you are anymore. And that's the problem, Manchester United. And Ole has to rebuild Manchester United from scratch, and that's the thing what he has to do, and hopefully he will have time to change it around, because Ole's a very good man, but in this business as a manager, it's all about getting results, and that's what football's all about now, and managers don't last long in football anymore.
No, this is the point, right? In that we're reading today that there might be some recruitment in January, maybe bringing in a number 9, maybe a midfielder, and then they're saying 6 signings over the next couple of transfer windows. But is it as simple as that? Because you've been in the squad where you will have seen the dynamic of that squad. You will have seen the ethos, the way in which they you have to win. You know, we're seeing it with City and Liverpool at the moment, where it just feels like there is an expectation that you go out and you win. Certainly under Sir Alex, you felt like that with United. They always seem to find a way, even when they didn't play well. The Manchester United now, they don't seem to have that. So is it as simple as bring in more players? Because they've kind of done that over the last few years, and it hasn't necessarily worked.
Yeah, that's 100%. You can bring players in as much as you want, like, but it's something else what's happening at Man U. It's what I'm looking at from the outside. It's like you need that winning mentality, and Manchester United hasn't got that at the moment, and I think that needs to change. And the only way that can change is by winning games. It could be 3 or 4 scrappy games in a row, like, but they need that confidence. Any team, any player you talk to, you played the game, and you know you need that confidence when you go on that pitch. Even when I was playing for Northern Ireland, we were going on a pitch thinking, how many goals are we going to come off this pitch letting in? You know what I mean? Yeah. Michael O'Neill came in, changed the team, changed the confidence around, and we're going on the pitch, and we believe that we're going to win every game. And that's a small country of Northern Ireland, and that's what Manchester United have to go back to the drawing board and start winning games. And that's the hardest thing in football to do, is win games and get confidence. You can buy all the best players, as I said before, in the world, but it's you have to play for Manchester United. You have to play for that badge, no matter how good you are. You have to play for that badge and give 100% every time you go on that football pitch.
Is that the point? Is that the point that the culture starts with the manager? You mentioned there, because of course that you're involved in some brilliant Manchester United squads, and I'm interested to get your take as to what it was like back then, because I can imagine that you would all put so much pressure on yourself, but you would thrive off that pressure. But does that all start from the manager? And I guess added to that, is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the man to help create that?
No, it comes in when you first walk through that front door at Old Trafford. It's the team when you walk in. It's the culture of the club. You know what I mean? It's the belief you have Manchester United here now, and you have to give everything for Manchester United. And at the moment, I don't think some of the players are doing that. I think they have to go out. They have to go through brick walls to do that for the club. Ollie is a manager. How many managers have been at Manchester United since Sir Alex Ferguson left? Do you know what I mean? There was 3 or 4 managers that have been at Manchester United. That I've never seen that in my day. You know what I mean? It's a lot of managers that came through the door and left. So you can't keep blaming the managers. You have to look at the players and say, right, players, get your finger out and do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the main thing I'm looking at. You can't keep saying it's the manager has to do this. Manager can just do so much, and then it's up to the players. And the players out there need to go, pull the sleeves up and work hard for the club.
You mentioned
for themselves.
You mentioned the big guy there, Sir Alex, and there's a lot of like looking back with rose-tinted glasses, isn't there? I think happens, and yeah, he's got this legend status, and you know, I'm a United fan, and clearly, you know, love the guy for his results and everything. But is it all true about him? Was he as universally loved behind the scenes as we're made out, or not?
For me personally, yes, because I looked up to him as a young lad, and I looked up to him when I came into Manchester United at 23 years old, and I respected the man. And that's the thing in football: you respect your manager, you try and respect your manager as much as you can. Like, and Ferguson was one of the mans I looked up to. But the thing is, Sir Alex is gone now, so Manchester United has to move on, and that's the big problem. We can talk about Manchester United 5-10 years ago, but we have to talk about Manchester United now in the next 5 or 10 years. And the way things are going, it's a bit frightening to look at things. I didn't realise Manchester United would have went downhill so much, and it's not good to see this happening for a club of Manchester United. I live in Northern Ireland, and there's a lot of Northern Ireland supporters, Manchester United supporters in Northern Ireland, and it's just scary when they come up and talk to me and say how bad things are at Manchester United, and things do have to change quickly.
It is a really weird situation. I said a phrase earlier on in the show, you know, Manchester United 2 points above the relegation zone, and I was like, what? You know, I'd never ever thought I'd say that. And look, obviously I don't really think they'll go down, but you know, it is uncharted territory for a lot of United fans. I'm 27 years old. I knew nothing but success for the first 23 years of my life, pretty much, and then you're kind of dealing with this now. But I'm just quite keen to get your kind of maybe your best Sir Alex memory, if you can. Just remind me of the good old days, please. I want that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling.
No, the good old days is winning trophies, of course. You always want to win games, but you want to win them trophies as well, and that was my enjoyment playing for Manchester United. It was I remember the time when I played against Arsenal in the FA Cup semi-finals, and we beat them at Aston Villa 1-0, and we had about 4 or 5 league games left, and I knew myself as a goalkeeper, yourself, and we all know ourselves, like, you know, you're not having good. The last 3 games have been awful, and I knew in the back of my mind I wasn't going to play the finals of the FA Cup. And so Alex came up to me and spoke to me, and that's how good he was as a manager. He says, "Roy, I can't play you in the final because your mind's not in the right way." And I says, 100% agree. And then he turned around and put me on for the last 10 minutes, and that's how I respect the man, you see, because he put you on for the last 10 minutes of the FA Cup final. I've never seen that happen before, and that's why I respect him so much. But the good old days when you're winning and you're playing for the likes of Roy Keane, Ruud van Nistelrooy, David Beckham, Ronaldo, it's scary when you look back. I'm 42 years old now, and I still don't believe it. Sometimes I've played with these quality players, and them players are just down to earth, and they just want to win for Manchester United. And Gary Neville and all them ones just Manchester United through and through, die-hard fans.
Do you know what? I could pick your brains all day. Just
Yeah.
back to yourself quickly before we let you go. You mentioned obviously you're now teaching the younger generation to be goalkeepers. You mentioned your knee injury. I take it you're fully healed now?
No, I'm hopefully another month and a half rehab, but I'm just fingers crossed everything's okay. But I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I don't know if I'm going to come back and play again part-time football. But as a goalkeeper, I always loved the game, and it's in my blood. So in a month and a half, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I might come back and play, but at the moment, I'm enjoying watching these kids grow, and hopefully bringing the next Northern Ireland keeper from Northern Ireland playing for the country.
Fantastic.
And that's what my new dream is.
Yeah, no, fantastic.
luck, mate.
No, great that you're giving back in that way. Good luck with the knee as well. Hope it comes back to 100%, and hope you do get back playing as well. It's fantastic you're still doing it at the age that you're at. So keep doing what you're doing. Great stuff. Thanks, Roy.
Cheers, lads. Thank you very much. Next
Cheers,
talk to you.
mate.
Roy Carroll there, former Manchester United goalkeeper.
What a legend, by the way.
What a legend.
What
Giving
a
us his
legend.
thoughts on the current situation at Manchester United. The time is 12 minutes to 9.
I told Melania that she draws her eyebrows on far too high. She looked so surprised. Giving your team a voice. Love Sport Radio.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
Every day someone dies waiting for a transplant. From spring 2020, the law around organ donation in England is changing to allow more people to pass on more organs to save more lives. Unless you choose to opt out or in an excluded group, all adults will be considered as a possible organ donor when they die. Whatever your choice, make it clear to your family and closest friends to ensure your decision is honoured. To find out more, or for the choice to opt out, visit organdonation.nhs.uk. Pass it on.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Have you had enough of extortionate energy bills? A spokesman said could help you find the cheapest energy deals on the market. Don't take our word for it. There's hundreds of spokesman said customers who've saved big. Brian from Derbyshire saved £400 on his energy bills, and Tony from Northampton saved a massive £2,800 on his gas and electric. A spokesmansaid.com, the leading price comparison site where you can switch to the cheapest energy tariffs on the market in just minutes.
The spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you all the way until 10 a.m. We're now going to be continuing our conversation in regards to football, but something a little bit different. Delighted to say we've got Gemma Hillier, Portsmouth and England beach soccer player. Of course, Team GB won silver in beach soccer in the World Beach Games, losing 3-2 to Spain in the final. Delighted to say we've got Gemma on the line now. Morning, Gemma.
Good morning.
Good morning. Talk to us about this. I saw the goals, a couple of great goals, to be fair, in this game. Team GB did very well.
Yeah, so our aim was actually to go and win the gold medal. We won all of our games up to the final, and then the final we were just beaten by the better team on the night of Spain. They scored some great goals, we scored some great goals. In the final third, we peppered them. They didn't have any chances, but unfortunately for us, goals just wouldn't go in. So yeah, we come away with a silver medal that we're really, really proud of. Obviously, beach soccer in England isn't massive. We don't have a lot of sand to train on. So when we're competing against teams like Brazil and Spain, who obviously have amazing weather throughout the year, they have great beaches to play on. A silver medal is just incredible for us.
How do you look, congratulations first and foremost, but how do you actually get into beach soccer in this country? How do you train? Give us some of the detail on that.
Yeah, really great question. So a lot of our players are current and former Portsmouth grass players. Around 6 years ago, Perry Northeast was our manager. He actually played for England Beach men's team at the time, and there was no women's team at the time, and he saw that we kind of had a really good technical team at Portsmouth, so he started up a women's team, and it's kind of gone from strength to strength. From there, we mainly train. We've got our national training centre up in Lee Valley in North London. We've got kind of like a man-made pitch, and then down in Portsmouth there's a volleyball court that we train on as and when we can.
Brilliant. Well, look, and I want to ask you as well, because of course this was out in Qatar, so you've had a bit of experience, first-hand experience as to what Qatar is like. How long were you out there for a start, and how was it?
We were out there for 10 days. It's been one of their hottest summers ever, and we kind of got the backlash of that. It's from end of October to November. They kind of is their like transitional season, but their summers lasted a little bit longer than they thought it would. So yeah, the heat was absolutely incredible. It was sort of just nothing we had ever experienced, but we managed to get 2 training days in before our matches, so that was really helpful.
Oh, yeah, good stuff. Now, look, I was going to ask, and I stopped myself, what are the differences between beach soccer and normal soccer? And then I realised that would be a really stupid question because it's played on a beach. But apart from that, just explain to me like the practicalities of it in terms of your formations and just some of the kind of basic tactics of it and maybe how they differ from more conventional soccer, I suppose.
Yeah, sure. Ultimately, it is football. I mean, the team that scores the most goals wins the game, but you only have 5 on a pitch at a time, but you have a squad of 10. It's roll-on, roll-off subs, and you tend to only play kind of 2 minutes at a time because when you're on, it's kind of short, sharp bursts. You're not kind of sort of giving yourself 90 minutes and having to work for that period of time. So that's a little bit different. It's fast and furious because when the ball goes out of play, you only get 4 seconds to play it back in. Goalkeeper only gets 4 seconds on the ball in their area. So it is a fast and furious game. It's very technical, mostly played up in the air. The men's game is obviously more developed than the women's, so they kind of it's a better spectacle to watch for them, but the women's game is catching up. I mean, in this tournament, there's probably more bicycle kicks scored in the women's game than there ever has been. So It's definitely developing, and it's a really, really great game to be involved in.
Look, I know personally, we used to do pre-season and we'd often go running on sand. For instance, we'd go for a pre-season trip and we'd then go for a run on the sand. It was so tough to actually run on sand. You guys must be so fit to play a game of football on sand.
Yeah, our strength and conditioning coaches are pretty relentless. We've been doing in preparation more than we would have been doing out in Qatar, so then we were ready for any situation. So we've kind of been doing like bleep tests on the sand. We have something called a flag test where you kind of run to each flag and then back to the start line, 30-metre sprints, all kinds of crazy stuff, 6-hour training sessions. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, but it's worth it.
Are you ever tempted to, and this is probably goes a long way to explaining why I've never quite made it in professional sport, but are you ever tempted to, try some novel techniques that the sand offers you in order to put your opponents off? So, they're about to do a shot, sand in the eye, that kind of stuff, no?
That does happen sometimes, yeah. Quite often the goalkeeper gets sand in their eye and another rule in beach soccer is that whoever gets fouled has to take the free kick. So goalkeeper gets fouled quite often, so then they have to take a free kick, which is like a free shot on goal, so you don't have like defenders in the way. That's another cool rule.
Yeah, I tried to use that excuse a few times, sand in the eye, but didn't really apply. Gemma, fantastic. Just how did it go for you on a personal level, the tournament?
Really well for me. I've given up. I gave up grass football a year ago to concentrate on sand. I scored 4 goals in the tournament and sort of had a good one personally. So yeah, on a personal level, really, really great for me.
Fantastic.
And lastly, what's next for Team GB?
Yeah, really good question. In terms of Team GB, we're not really quite sure, but England Beach Soccer, obviously we have our normal tournaments throughout the year, European Championships, and kind of like the Champions League of Beach Soccer for our sort of team beach soccer teams. Really exciting. We're not sure what it's going to bring. We just wanted to kind of get the sport out there in England a little bit more and get people knowing what we do and sort of how important it is.
Fantastic. We've helped do that this morning. Great stuff, Gemma. Really appreciate you coming on.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
And well done again.
Well done. Absolutely. Gemma Hillier there, Portsmouth and England beach soccer player. Of course, Team GB win silver in the beach soccer in the World Beach Games. They lost 3-2 to Spain in the final. I suppose a quick question for you on that. Do you prefer sand or grass?
I am all about the grass, mate.
Yeah, a bit more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different game.
Oh, game. Yeah, different game.
Different game completely.
Yeah.
But no, well done to them. Fantastic achievement. We've had some really good guests on this hour. Should we give our producer a compliment? Or producers, of course.
Right, every time a postman delivers a letter, does he celebrate, mate?
I mean, look, that annoys me.
Does he celebrate, mate?
All right, so then every time I made a save in football...
Did you celebrate?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yeah, I've seen you do a backflip.
You've seen my celebrations. They're pretty poor.
Yeah, all right, well done, lads.
Well done, lads. Very, very good. No, some great guests. And we've got more to come in the next hour, so do stay tuned. 3 minutes to 9.
Love sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
Hi, my name's Kurt Edwards. I work in advertising and live in Surrey. Last year, the family content insurance was £745. A friend of mine had recommended a spokesmansaid.com when it came for this year's renewal. I managed to get it for £403. So for those 10 minutes on that website, I saved over £340. I told my family, my friends, you'd be absolutely mad not to give it a go.
thespokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio, myself, Richard Lee, and Patrick Christys for another hour or so. Then, of course, it's the brilliant Martin Bell and Johnny Sperling who'll be up straight after us. We've got a big hour coming up. We're going to be talking to Joshua Suttle, F1 journalist, talking about potential of F1 in Miami. Can Bottas catch Hamilton? Hamilton in general, and also the controversial F1 chief's decision not to change 2020 qualifying. We're speaking to Adam Digby, Italian football journalist as well, writer of Juventus, a history in black and white, talking about Allegri to Manchester United potentially. A lot of rumours at the moment. In fact, the Sun have a Allegri lineup if he were Manchester United. We'll be talking Italy. They've, of course, qualified for Euro 2020 and Serie A lineup as well as our Premier League predictions. Now that football is back, we've missed it, but it's very much back this weekend and back with a bang. As always, we're online, we're on digital radio, we're on your Alexa smart speaker. You can get in touch, as many of you have done so. In fact, I've seen some of the messages on YouTube. Thank you very much for that. You can also get in touch on WhatsApp, 0208 70 20 558. We're on the socials as well, at Love Sport Radio on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Kieran's joined me briefly. Do you just want to come and say hello?
I just came to say hello, Rich. It's been a great show so far. We've got some cracking guests coming up. Excited to talk about F1, about Italian football, and, well, we're going to embarrass ourselves with our predictions.
We will indeed, so don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Love Sport, 9 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 9. Boris Johnson's facing a race against time to sell his last-minute Brexit deal to MPs. The Commons will vote on the agreement tomorrow in a rare Saturday sitting. The DUP, Labour, the Lib Dems and SNP say they won't back it. The Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell says there'll be consequences for any members of his party who vote for it.
The three-line whip will apply, and we'll expect Labour MPs to vote against this deal because it's such a poor deal. I don't believe it will pass. I think it will be defeated, but the numbers are going to be pretty close, and we'll see what happens on Saturday itself.
The Independent Anti-Slavery Commissioner says the system is struggling to cope because of a massive increase in victims. Dame Sarah Thornton says the Home Office needs to be much clearer with those waiting for asylum. Turkey's agreed to pause its military offensive in northern Syria to allow Kurdish forces to withdraw. Donald Trump was quick to claim credit for the deal at a campaign rally in Dallas last night. Fighting's erupted near Mexico City between masked gunmen and security forces. It began after one of the sons of the jailed former drug cartel leader known as El Chapo was briefly arrested. The whisky industry is warning jobs in Scotland will be put at risk because of new US tariffs. America's started putting levies of up to 25% on European goods in retaliation for the EU's illegal subsidies to plane maker Airbus. The Scotch Whisky Association says sales could drop by a fifth within a year. Graham Littlejohn's from there.
We do not think it is fair. The Scotch whisky industry has been drawn into an EU-US trade dispute, which we have no part of. Not only that, but we are taking on the vast majority of the UK's tariff burden. It is clearly unjust.
Wine, cheese and olives are also affected. In sport, Wales are at full strength ahead of facing France on Sunday in their Rugby World Cup quarter-final. Backs Jonathan Davies, Dan Biggar and Hadley Parkes have all been past fit. That's the latest. I'm Daisy Steele.
This is Love Sport.
If there's one thing you can be certain of these days, it's uncertainty. Particularly when it comes to getting a good deal. At SAYATS, however, we're certain we can help with that. Get 0% APR finance across our entire SUV range, plus 2 free services on us until October 31st. Now there's a great deal, if ever there was one. Because they take, we give. SEAT.
Solutions personal contract plan. Minimum 36-month contract on Arona and Ateca or 48-month contract on Taraco. Minimum 10% customer deposit. Registered by 31st of December 2019 from participating dealers. 18 plus subject to status. Indemnities may be required. SEAT Finance. Visit SEAT.co.uk. Service plan covers first 2 consecutive services.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning, Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys for another hour or so. Let's touch on the top stories. Of course, England-Australia this weekend. We're going to be talking about that in the next hour. Woodward keeps faith with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and says he's insulted to suggest non-football people make footballing decisions at Old Trafford. Poch was positive in a press conference. How that's news, I don't know. Festive fixtures. Anger Pep as City have 48-hour gap around their Boxing Day fixtures. Liverpool have a full 24 hours longer to recover. There's lots going on the front pages as well. Patrick's quite excited about the potential of a deal. A Brexit deal.
Boris Johnson. Sorry.
I mean, it's got a ring to
Being
it.
told to stop again.
Yeah, I know the producer's not happy with you today. But we have got a big hour coming up. And in fact, in this segment, I see that we have guest TBC. And I found out that the guest is actually our producer, Kieran.
Hey!
Fantastic.
That's the other side of producing. I was praised to the hills last hour, and now I can't get through to the TBC guest.
It's basically bipolar in a nutshell, being a producer, isn't it, essentially? It's 1 minute you're right up here, the next minute you're being slated on air. I mean, you just never know, do you?
You're just a roller coaster of emotions.
As Ronan Keating would say, life is a roller coaster. Just got to ride it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, this was it. We were expecting a nice big name as a guest.
Hey,
it's like, do you know what it's
Wellington's
like?
quite a long surname.
Thank you. Thank you. Great
It's that
minds.
moment at Christmas, you're so excited, you wake up in the morning and it's socks. Socks again.
Do you want me to take those back?
Well, I mean, I do appreciate it, but they're the wrong size. Anyway, Kieran, talk to me.
Yes, I am going to talk now, and I'm going to talk a bit of rugby because
fantastic.
It's the biggest game of the weekend. Yes, we have the Premier League back, and we will do some Premier League predictions at the end of our show and make us look ridiculous because there's plenty of football going on. But at this time tomorrow, I'm going to be waking up. I'm going to be so excited because England and Australia are facing off, and there's just something very tribal about when we play the Aussies in the rugby. Okay, the cricket, you have Jofra Archer throwing bouncers down at Matthew Wade, and it's great, but they've got helmets on. Yeah. This is just
raw
burly
aggression.
men tackling each other.
I mean, are you going to be excited when you wake up tomorrow morning, Patrick?
I usually am.
No, about the
rugby?
The rugby.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, you need to be more specific about that. Yeah, no, I am going to be. I want us to just stuff the Aussies.
Yeah, we will, hopefully. But I just want to run through 3 key battles that could dictate where this match ends up. We're looking at Sam Underhill at flanker versus Michael Hooper, the Aussie skipper. Now, this is the biggest game of young Sam Underhill's career, up against the all-round excellence of the Australian captain, known for his big carries in that position. Obviously, at flanker, you don't often see that very dynamic player, Michael Hooper, but is coming towards the twilight of his career, whereas Sam Underhill really is kind of on the upward curve. And the breakdown contest will hinge on these two players. That's going to be a really interesting battle. Kyle Sinclair versus Scott Sio is the next matchup that the Telegraph have gone with. Sio has developed into a high-level scrummager and contests Sinclair, who is a ball-carrying threat, making his 16th start in 29 tests for England. So that could potentially be, in a very experienced pack, one of the potential weak spots that Australia target. And also, as we've touched on before, Henry Slade versus Jordan Pataya. The Pataya is 19 years of age, hailed as Australia's next great talent. He is built, well, I was going to say like a brick.
Yeah.
But I can't say that, so he's built.
But you've insinuated, which is probably just as bad.
Yeah.
Well, I've not said.
No, it's
But
fine.
we all know what you meant, which makes it probably even worse because now we're still talking about it.
Let's just say it.
No. 6'3", 16 stone.
Yeah.
Quick, great with the ball in hand as well. He's going to be kind of one of Australia's biggest threats, even though this is just his third Test match. Now, I want to run through some statistics, as you know. I love some stats.
Yeah.
Yes. Stats. The starting 15 average weight. Do you want to have a guess?
Can you, by the way, I'm waiting for the kind of like, can you imagine, this is like the kind of feminist movement, really. I can't believe they've just ranked the weights of the players. Sorry,
It's
carry on.
important in rugby.
Yeah, come on, let's hear 'em.
What, have a guess. Starting 15 average weight for each side.
Average
I
weight.
reckon 15.5 stone.
Average weight.
Average.
Yeah, average.
15.
Australia's 16 stone, 7 pound.
Oh, okay.
England's
17.
No.
16 stone, 9 pound. So
We got the weight advantage.
There we go.
That pretty much
that's
guaranteed
ridiculous.
to
The
win.
starting forwards total weight,
Yeah.
right? This is 8 players.
Mm.
144 stone, 12 pounds, England's.
Yeah.
And 144 stone, 10 pounds, Australia.
Wow.
I mean,
So-
some serious
It's
serious
how
weight.
quick
again?
they move
16?
as well.
Well, that's it. Who is the quickest in the English squad?
Ooh, that's a really good question. It's probably, I don't know actually. Maybe Johnny May.
I've seen him run. He runs like
he's
a Mustang.
Rapid. He is rapid.
He does.
But it is the fact that they're not just massive. It is the pace at which they move, the agility that they've got as well, and their ability to take a massive hit and just get back up like it was nothing.
So what is the average weight again? 16 stone 9.
Yeah, for England.
Here we
Yeah.
go.
What do you mean? Here we
Go
go.
on, Rich. Finish that one off, mate.
Well, why don't you look into it as a career, mate? Like you tick so many of the boxes.
Do I? In what sense? What do I tick?
Well, you're brave.
Yeah.
You know, we just talked about the average weight. Like I said, you've got so much dormant, relaxed muscle.
At my fighting weight, I was 16.5 stone.
Wow.
That's true, yeah.
So there you go. You're 2 pounds off being an England rugby
and
player.
a body like a punched lasagna. Horrible.
Anywho.
Yes, and it looks very close with the matchups, you know, in terms of experience as well. Starting 15 caps, England 663, Australia 676, so not much to split them there. And even off the bench, 331 for England, 310 for Australia. So a lot of people are saying that England are heavy favourites. Not so sure.
Not so sure. Well, there you go, clever. So you're done. But that's the point. Like Eddie Jones, I know he has was it 6 in a row? I want to say.
Yeah, 6-0. 6-0.
You can look at it two ways. Is it like Australia drew a victory? That's one way you can look at it. The other is, no, we're dominant. We're just going to carry on. And he's got the better of Checker, which he seems to. I mean, Checker just bites at everything.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, look, this game against Australia is essentially like the stabilisers to the game against New Zealand or South Africa. This is what this is. Like, this is a team. If you're going to win a World Cup, you've got to beat a team of Australia's quality. That's just the way it is. You can't expect to just meet them in the final and get beaten by them.
So now we find out whether Kieran's right or whether we're right. Because, well, certainly I think having the 2-week break, the game being called off last week, of course the Super Typhoon, the game being called off against France, means that we haven't necessarily had a tough game yet. Kieran thinking that actually that would have done us good to have had a tough game building into this. We're going to find out.
We are, and I think it's a statement of intent from Eddie Jones. A lot of the kind of column inches have been talking about George Ford's omission, but actually the other two changes are particularly interesting, and they're both in the front pack. And Mako Vunipola has come in for Joe Marler. And that is really important. Mako was a 27 tackle hero when we beat Ireland 32-20 back in February. It enhances England's attack as well, just the way he can break through the lines. Joe Marler has been excellent, and his scrummaging could be important late on. And this is what people have been talking about. Eddie Jones has been very quick to stress that it is going to be, replacements off the bench are playing as much of a pivotal role as the starting 15 in this game. And you do suggest that with the way that rugby is now, where basically the entire bench gets on the field, it is an important facet in the last 20 minutes, especially in a close game, which this one is bound to be. And also Courtney Lawes coming in. As you were saying, Rich, I've said before that not having a big game could, inhibit England a little bit. Well, the kind of introduction of Courtney Lawes, he's just going to be asked to smash people for 50 minutes. And it's that statement of intent. England are really going to come out firing because they're rested, they're ready to go.
I wonder, and it's something you alluded to earlier, whether we're going to see a red card very early here. because from one way or the other. Because I think that the Australians get very, very pumped up by their coach Checker, who clearly has just got no sense of humour, very angry man, hates Eddie Jones, quite possibly hates the English as well. And that comes across. You just see him sat there in every interview, and he looks like Alistair Campbell, who used to be advised to Tony Blair, used to stick pins in his hand when he was doing interviews to try and allow the rage to seep out of him. He was that much of an angry man. Yeah. The Leveson inquiry, he had a drawing pin. He was sticking it through his own finger to try and stop him saying something, essentially tell everyone to go and do one. And he seems a bit like that. He's got a touch of the Alistair Campbells about him, this guy. And I wonder if that could work in the sense that his team gets so pumped up, will stick it to the Poms, and they get a sending off. Could work the other way as well, because England want to go and stamp their mark early on this game. He's got rid of Ford, so he can pick a bigger lad there. And you think, maybe this has got red card written all over it.
So if we end up losing this game, not that I want to consider that, but if we do, then all of a sudden does this Ford decision become a much bigger decision?
It will dominate. But if Ford comes off the bench, Ford will play. Ford will play. So it's not the fact that, okay, he's not starting, and if we have a poor first half and we lose on the back of that, then yes. But Ford is going to play a part, and there will be some element of his attacking play in play.
Do you reckon Eddie Jones told Ford directly, or do you think Ford had to hear it second hand?
Is that a used car joke? Is that the depths of humour we've gone to?
I mean, we've kind of used them all up now. I mean, I spoke about...
I think I'm actually quite glad that I managed to find that one, because I think we've done a load, haven't we?
We've pretty much done them all. I spoke about Ford's focus yesterday, whether he was on...
My favourite one was Guy Watts saying that actually maybe he was dropped because he got caught with an escort.
Yeah, which isn't true, by the way.
True.
It was just purely the fact.
It's just,
the only other ones I was going to drop in is that Ford runs like a Puma or like a Mustang.
Maybe he's on a Fiesta.
Yeah,
yeah.
Bit of wordplay as well, you see.
Clever. I think we used them all up now. I think we can move on from this.
Yeah. Anyways, don't turn over. It's Love Sport Radio.
Stay with us, please.
Yeah, an official apology from everybody here at Love Sport. We're going to be talking about something more interesting next.
Believe me, he who laughs last thinks slowest. Ha ha ha. See, that was a laugh because I'm clever enough.
This is Love Sport.
This is Ian Stone. I'm here on Love Sport Radio every Saturday afternoon from 12 till 3. My father said I could have been a professional footballer. My father was a big fan of mine. I was 21 years old and I was playing for a team. My father was the manager and made me Player of the Year.
Oh.
He walked into the dressing room and he went, Player of the Year this year? Well, I think it's Ian. Ian Stone every Saturday afternoon, 12 till 3.
Love Sport.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
You all right, mate? Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it. Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
There are fewer than 20 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
Can you save money on your energy bills? Tony did, with help from a spokesmansaid.com. Getting people real savings.
I'm Tony from Northampton. My bills for gas and electricity had gone straight through the roof. I chose a Spokesman Said, and they saved me £2,800. It was so easy, I used them for my house and contents insurance too.
For help saving money on your energy bills, go to a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys, here with you all the way until 10 a.m. Now, we touched on pretty much every sport this morning. I think it's fair to say that, Patrick.
Yes.
We're now going to touch on a bit of F1 because, of course, there's lots going on in the world of F1. And delighted to say we've got Joshua Suttle on the line to go through it with us. Morning, Joshua.
Good morning, guys.
Morning. A few things I want to talk about. I want to talk about Hamilton to an extent. Some interesting posts, or certainly an interesting post that came out earlier in the week. I don't know if you had a chance to see this, but a little bit concerning in some ways. What have the F1 world made of that post?
Well, there's been a very mixed reaction. I mean, I think those inside the F1 sort of bubble have been a little more sympathetic, but I think the sort of average man in the street, as they saw the headline of Hamilton urging everyone to go towards a vegan diet, when of course, he is an F1 driver, he is an owner of multiple cars and motorbikes and flies all around the world. Maybe a little bit hypocritical, but at the end of the day, all it was just an Instagram story. He was just expressing his concern for the environment and maybe not thinking about what the reaction would be from the sort of outside world.
It was pretty bleak though. Like, do you think he's all right?
I mean, I hope so, doesn't it? I mean, from the sounds of it, like you say, it sounds like he was going to quit, didn't it, really? Or he wasn't going to be an F1 for much longer. But, I think he's all right. It's just, I think, sharing that concern for the environment that, quite a lot of people have recently.
Quite an interesting story that I see broke recently about potential of F1 in Miami. So it's got an agreement in principle with the owners of the Miami Dolphins NFL Stadium to hold a race in the Florida City from 2021.
Yeah, I mean, F1's always wanting to expand into America, especially recently, of course. American owners for the sport now, so they're really keen to get another race there. We've already got one, of course, at the moment in Austin, Texas, and that's been a major success. And obviously, America's such a big market. We could have a couple of races there. So Miami looks like a great location. Like you say, it's just in principle at the moment, so we'll see if it actually sort of all comes together. We've had a race in New York, which was agreed a few years ago, and that one never happened, so hopefully this one in Miami will.
Yeah, well, look, absolutely. I suppose it seems strange, actually, that they don't already kind of have one there. Is there any way that you reckon that Bottas might be able to catch Hamilton? Could we see a little bit of a shock at all?
I really want to say yes. I really want to tell everyone that there is a chance, but unfortunately I don't think there's really any chance. Probably go one more race. There's Mexico. Hamilton has to outscore Bottas by, I think, 14 points. That, probably isn't going to happen. But I think the round afterwards, actually in America, in Texas, is probably where Hamilton's going to do it.
I was about to say that because, of course, Mexico, isn't it? Then it's the USA one. Realistically, is that when he wins it?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's Hamilton's second home as well, isn't it, really? So it's going to be, I think, exactly where he'll want to win it as well.
Yeah, and I see as well, controversial F1 chief's decision not to change the 2020 qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about sort of having reverse grid races to sort of set the grid and changing the format, but really it was going to be difficult to kind of advise or sort of persuade the top teams to sort of give up some of their advantage. Basically, it was a way of sort of giving, more help to sort of the smaller teams, producing more shock results, but maybe a little artificially. Problem is, in F1, rather unusually, the teams make all the rules and they agree on all the rules. There's obviously an external body, but at the end of the day, they have to get it through the team. So stuff like this very rarely goes through because it's down to the teams, and they're always going to put themselves first.
No, of course. Great stuff. Joshua, really appreciate you joining us.
Cheers.
That's it, Joshua Suttle, the F1 journalist, giving us his thoughts on a variety of things. We touched on Lewis Hamilton. Just wanted to ask you about this, Patrick, and I do see that at the same time Kieran has entered the room.
So we're available on YouTube. Yeah. And I just want everyone now, if you are listening, just for even if it's literally just 10 seconds, just take a look at what we're looking at on YouTube now.
Wow.
So here at Love Sport Radio, what we take very seriously is health and safety. Okay, so we have minimal exposed wires anywhere near an open water source. For a start, I think we've managed actually to fix the lift after Big Nasty literally broke it, which did happen, by the way. Big Nasty missed the last half of his show because he was stuck in a lift. So now Kieran Wellington, our esteemed producer, is currently wearing a high-vis jacket. Can you explain to us why on earth this is happening?
Well, I mean, I don't know whether we can give away our secrets here at Love Sport Radio, but there is some sort of fire drill happening later on. And
do you have to start the fire?
Well, as Billy Joel says, we didn't start the fire, lads.
No, it was always burning. It was always burning.
No, I don't have to start the fire, but I have to count everyone in, check check all the block and the toilets and is
Yeah,
anyone in, and then
Have you got a
count us
clipboard?
all back in.
Have you got a clipboard? I feel like you need a clipboard.
I'm gonna go and buy one before the fire starts.
Can I just ask, what happens if I refuse to leave, mate?
I sack you.
Is that a
I
thing?
wouldn't get in a tussle with Kieran.
I've got a high
we've got the high vis. Respect the high vis.
Respect the high vis, guys.
With those earphones on as well, it does look like you're about to taxi me off to lift off. Yes, it's so right. Anyway, right. What we're doing.
But for those that are tuning on YouTube, they're enjoying this right now.
Check us
And
out on
thanks for checking us
YouTube.
out. And I see Clive's been in touch.
Oh,
Clive,
yes,
our
come
regular
on, Clive.
Morning, Clive.
Morning, Clive. We do have our regulars. We do appreciate you guys listening in and the messages that we get. But I'm assuming you didn't come in just to talk about the high vis jacket.
No. We're gonna
Sorry.
do a little bit on Crystal Palace because I showed Patrick a tweet when we were off air, and you know how excited Patrick has been today
So excited.
by the news about Boris Johnson getting a deal. Well, Christian Benteke has said to Boris Johnson, "Hold my beer," because he's managed to agree a new deal at Crystal Palace.
Really?
Yes, him and James Tompkins have signed contract extensions last night.
Okay.
And quite a strange one, really. This is a guy who's probably on an awful lot of money for Crystal Palace's wage bill.
Yeah.
He's scored a goal, probably.
Yeah.
Since 2017.
I'm having a look at Christian Benteke's stats now.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to make pretty reading. I mean, he was fantastic at Villa.
It's not particularly good watching this. So I'm just waiting for this to load up.
Well, according to Wiki, which can be a little bit inaccurate, 89 games, 19 goals. So he's kind of like a 1 in 5 man.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then you scroll down and you look at the season by season breakdown, and it makes for ugly reading. I mean, he basically he took a penalty last season and missed one.
Yeah.
He can't do anything
Let's
right.
just have a look at this. So 2019-2020, 7 games, no goals. 2018-19, 16 games, 1 goal. 2017-2018, 31 games, 3 goals.
Yeah.
2016-17, 36 games, 15 goals.
Right,
All right.
so there you go. That was very good.
Yeah, but mate, that was years ago.
This is it.
3 seasons ago.
We are
You know
going
what
to
I mean?
find that he'll be
Back
back
then,
there
sorry,
any
back then
minute.
we hadn't left the EU. One Direction was still in the charts. Yeah, George Michael was still going. I mean, come on, the world's moved on.
But this is it. What if he finds that form once again? They've got a world-class striker on their hands.
Yeah, but at what point do we just go, right, Crystal Palace have signed Pele? So if he can reconjure any of his form that we've seen previously, then fingers crossed we're onto a winner here.
Well, look, we've got to believe in this because, look, producer Kieran produced a brilliant show several weeks ago.
Fire Marshal Kieran.
Fire Marshal Kieran. We know that it's in there. You know, it's going to happen again at some point
I see
soon.
What you're doing. I see what you've just done there.
Yeah. I could have gone for you, but I went for Kieran.
No,
so do you
it
appreciate
makes
that?
a change, actually.
It
Yeah,
does.
fantastic.
I am an easy target right now. In all fairness, visually.
Do you reckon Christian Benteke is just about to get a knock on the door from the police? And you just go, yeah, hello. Yeah, Christian, we'd like to just come with us, mate. We've had reports that you've been absolutely stealing a living.
Hey.
I see what you've done there. Very clever.
Lovely. But I think
balance.
let's just scramble it back. I think that Pochettino is probably the more insane out of Christian Benteke and Pochettino because he says he doesn't need any new signings in January, and it's a total farce.
Yeah.
Because he does. Like,
does.
objectively, he needs some
I
defenders.
think it's factual.
There was a very
now.
telling bit in the interview that he gave where he said, people will expect us to compete for what we want to compete for.
Which is...
And he didn't say Premier League title,
Yeah.
cup competitions, Champions League. So basically what he's saying is we're kind of 4th or 5th place and that's what we're competing for.
Yeah. It's got to the point where it's not an opinion anymore. Like they need a player or two, you feel.
What's the advantage of him coming out and saying that he doesn't need any new players? It's meant to lift up your squad,
do you know
isn't
what?
it? It's meant to reinvigorate.
Do you know what I think with Poch? I sometimes think it's just the mood he's in.
Right.
I do genuinely think it could be as simple as that. I think if he's in a bad mood, he has to do a press conference. He'll then make a couple of little cutting remarks.
Poch has got a look of a bloke who, you know, when like a toddler throws his toys out the pram, and like you go in and there's just like carnage everywhere. Like he's drawn up the walls. Like there's just like he's got all his toys. He's ripped the head off his favourite teddy, and it's just sat there. And he's just sat cross-legged on the floor, like lip pouting out. Like, you all right? No, not all right. Okay, then he just ends up apologising and he moves on when you give him what he wants.
Yeah. It's like, look, I've got Harry to come and play with you. Come on, Harry. Come on, look.
I don't want to play with Harry.
Yes,
you want to play with Harry.
You like Harry, remember? And then he cheers up, and then he gives an interview like this.
Yeah, he does. And apparently the Sky Sports journo said that Pochettino really liked his tie. And like before the presser started, he was like, "Oh, this is a nice tie there you've got." And he's like
it's
you say,
as easy as that.
It's moody, isn't it? He's a moody, like in terms of his moods go all over the place.
He is very passionate. It is true. He is very passionate as a manager, and you get that impression that he rides the roller coaster a little bit.
Yeah, but I think, look, I like that about him because sport is so over-sanitised, isn't it? You end up with people, that classic thing of like, someone's just come and scored 4 goals in a single game, and they come out and go, "Yeah, well, it was a great team effort. Actually, I couldn't have done it without we worked from right from top to bottom, and to be honest, we put it in the training ground. Credit to the manager, credit to the board, credit to the fans." Shut up! You were brilliant. Tell us you were brilliant. We know you were brilliant. You made that defender look like a child. Tell us how good it felt. That's what we want. Poch is a bit like that. I like it. He's got cojones,
Heart on sleeve.
Yeah, I want more heart on sleeve.
Yeah.
I want more of that.
Rather than play a good game and then it's... By the way, I've seen this same Instagram post thousands of times. Want to thank the fans. You guys were class. It's like a...
We go again.
We go again.
We go again.
Up the whoever.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It's a template message.
How would that go if you were Mesut Ozil, do you reckon?
What do you mean?
Just saying, that classic thing of up the... What would he say, do you reckon?
I mean, I don't know, Kieran.
Oh, up the Gooners.
Oh, okay, got you. Yes,
up the Gooners. That's what it would be.
Of course it would be.
Right, but just on the kind of sanitised Instagram post, Marcus Rashford tweeted something out the other day, which I thought was really, really great, and it was just him in his front room, and he kind of did a call to action. For his website, and he's going to raise money this Christmas for homeless people in Manchester. And he said, like, Manchester's my hometown. I feel really passionate about this, and we've got to get more homeless people off the streets. And I think that's a really great cause. And he's 21. Like, we forget sometimes because he's been around for the last 3 seasons. We look at his form. He's still a young lad, and he's a really great role model, I think, for a lot of young kids out there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I am fascinated by a lot of these. There was, of course. There's been a couple of famous examples, I guess, and Anichebe being a good one at Sunderland accidentally tweet something like hard result, but we go again. The thing is, he's not alone in this, and I've seen this at close quarters where I've tried to help certain people, and I'll do the classic one I'll do is hi brackets name close brackets and then the message. The amount of people that send that to it, hi name, what is wrong with you? I don't know. I mean,
basic, but I like it. So I had an estate agent once who said, he just went, "Hi Bjorn," and then gave me a full message, and I was like, "Bjorn." So I kind of just wrote back and was like, and he was called Mark, I think it was, and I was just like, "Hi Stavros, yeah, absolutely fine, thank you." And he was like, "Stavros?" ? I was like, "Yeah, who's Bjorn?" Who's Bjorn? Just refused to call them by their right name.
9:30.
This is Love Sport.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it, sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
I'm Leslie from North Essex. I couldn't believe that after 5 minutes I'd saved over £900 on my energy bills. When my car insurance was then due for renewal, I went back to a spokesman said and reduced my premium by over £500. I thought that my home insurance was expensive. When I shopped around on a spokesman said, I saved a staggering £1,100. I've saved £2,500. I cannot believe it was that easy.
A spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work that way. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
Love sport.
Lots for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys, and producer Kieran, who promised me an interesting story.
Yes, I have indeed. Now, game time for English players aged 21 and under at Premier League clubs is at its highest level in 12 seasons. And I know a lot has been made of that, but it's quite nice to see in comparison with the other Big 5 leagues how we're getting on. Because consistently we've been kind of really low. But English under-21s have made up 5.01% of minutes played this season, eclipsing Germany, 2.28%, and Spain, 2.61% for the first time since 2007-2008. Now, I think the successes of the relevant national teams have a lot to do with this, as in Germany, Italy and Spain, especially Germany and Spain, are on the wane in terms of they've had their kind of peaks, haven't they, with their European Championship World Cup wins.
The wane in Spain falls mainly on the plane.
Thank you, Patrick. So eloquently delivered. But yeah, I just think that this is a good time to be an English football fan.
Good time to be alive.
It is. No, but it is, isn't it? There's a correlation, right, between Gareth Southgate playing the kids between Premier League clubs playing the kids and Gareth Southgate having success.
What I'd say is not just if they eclipse them, from what you're saying, it's hugely above. If it's 2.5%, give or take, up to 5%, that's a big increase. No, look, I can see at the moment, the question I would pose is the optimum age of a footballer, is it changing? Is it getting younger? Because we used to talk about you get into your prime at 27, 28. I don't think that's the case anymore.
I wonder what is going to happen. We're going to have to start like a help group for players over the age of 30. You know, you're just going to see a load of those moody shots on the news from like the back of someone's head with a silhouette. It's gone, I thought football was going to be forever and it's over.
This is the point, is that actually when you get to 30 now, it's 1-year contracts, standard 1-year contracts. What's ended up happening is, of course, because there's such valuation in these younger players, I think the prime age of a footballer has come down considerably. And I think, like gymnasts being a good example, that gymnasts, their career's over by the age of 25, some of them. You know, they're 14, 15, they're hitting their prime, and their careers are over so quickly. I can see that happening more so with football.
Yeah, but then why are the likes of Germany and Spain having less under-21s play minutes?
I mean, it's a good question.
Well, I think it's horses for courses, isn't it? I think in the Premier League, the pace of the Premier League, that's what they always say, isn't it, compared to the relative other leagues. So maybe in that sense, the youthful approach is more pressing over here.
Well, you mentioned a couple of the European countries. We're going to be talking about Italy very shortly. We've got Adam Digby, who will be on the line in about 30 seconds or so time.
This is Love Sport.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centres, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys, here with you for about another 25 minutes or so. And then, of course, Martin Bell is up next with Johnny Sperling this morning. Fantastic show, so do stay tuned for that. Myself and Patrick, we're back. In fact, I'm back on Sunday morning, but we're back Monday morning. Got another brilliant week lined up next week, no doubt. Want to talk a little bit of Italian football. Delighted to say that we've got Adam Digby, Italian football journalist, writer of Juventus, A History in Black and White, who is on the line. Morning, Adam.
Morning.
Lots of rumours in the papers. Well, Solskjaer keeps getting the backing of the board, but then linked to that, a lot of people talking about the potential of Allegri to Manchester United. In fact, in the Sun online today, they've even put a Manchester United Allegri lineup and what it might look like. Is there much being spoke about this in Italy at the moment?
It was in Tuttosport, which is not the most reliable of Italian newspapers. It tends to be a little bit on the hyperbolic side, if I'm being generous. And apart from them, nobody is really talking about it, but it does make all kinds of sense, I guess.
Yeah, okay. And Italy qualifying for Euro 2020. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, a really good turnaround from Roberto Mancini. Obviously, they missed out on the World Cup with Gianpiero Ventura as manager, and Mancini's come in. He's brought in a lot of the younger players that Ventura was ignoring. He's built a really solid and very attacking side as well. A really good young midfield, lots of options there he can choose from, and they've won every game so far, so it bodes very well for them.
I just want to touch on Allegri again. I know you said it may well be hyperbole, maybe very little truth in it, to be honest, certainly given that United consistently come out and say that Solskjaer's got the full backing, even if things continue in a not-so-positive vein. They're really going to try and work hard with him. But, of course, a lot of people are jumping on this. If there were a chance that Allegri were to come to United, what kind of qualities would he bring?
Yeah, I mean, it was in Tuttosport in Italy, so the rumour is a little bit outlandish at the moment. But to me, it would be the perfect guy to replace Solskjaer. He's in a way, he's everything that Solskjaer isn't. He's experienced. He's well versed in what it takes to be successful at the highest level. He's been at Milan. He's been at Juve. He's dealt with the pressure of those really big clubs, and especially at Milan when they were struggling too. So he's already dealt with the same kind of pressures and turmoil that he would have to contend with should he go to Manchester United. I keep seeing in a lot of these reports that he's been learning English, and he said in a strange interview that he's done with a Polish website yesterday that he's working on his English, but it's still not very good. But I know that firsthand 4 years ago, I had two conversations with Max Allegri in English. So I know that he speaks English, and I'm not surprised that he's downplaying it. I understand why he would do that. And obviously it's difficult to have a conversation. It's easier to have a conversation than it is to coach a football team in that language. But he's got the skills. He knows what he's doing. And he's very good at building a team that's very difficult to beat, that's very pragmatic, that gets the results he needs. And yeah, to me, he makes so much sense that he would be the guy that Manchester United would look at if they do move on from Solskjaer.
Interesting. Big endorsement. I want to talk about Serie A as well. Of course, back in action tomorrow. Juve, Napoli, Atalanta, all in action. What are the standout games this weekend?
I think you need to really have a close look at Milan's game. It looks like an easy fixture on paper, but they've just changed their own manager. Stefano Pioli coming in to replace Marco Giampaolo. They've only won 3 games so far this season. They've only scored 2 goals from open play. Pioli will have had by kickoff 10 days working with the squad, or at least the players who weren't away on international duty. So hopefully he should be able to see some signs of what they've been working on as he goes into his first game. And then obviously Inter as well. They lost to Juve in the game before the international break, and seeing how they bounce back is going to go a long way towards telling us what to expect from them for the rest of the season. The past couple of seasons with Inter, they've had bright starts, they've had some good string of results, but when they've suffered a bad defeat that they thought that going into a game they thought they might get a result from, they've struggled and they've tended to fall away and go on a slump and a bad run of results. So seeing if Antonio Conte can turn them around would be really good to see. And then last of all, Fiorentina against Brescia on Monday night. It's the only Serie A game on Monday. Fiorentina have already sold out their away allocation. They've had a really bright start to the season with Frank Ribery there, and watching them this season has just been a joy. So if you're at a loose end on Monday night, maybe tune into that because they've been very good to watch.
Good stuff. You mentioned Inter there, and of course have started the season very brightly. Conte doing well. Why is he doing so well, do you think?
Yeah, because he's Antonio Conte, isn't he? It was the same at Juve, it was the same at Chelsea. He gets that 3-5-2 in place. He gets everybody running as hard as they can, everybody giving maximum effort. And the biggest beneficiary of that has been Romelu Lukaku, who's come out of his own terrible spell at Manchester United, and he looks like the Romelu Lukaku who was so devastating at Everton. He's bright, he's energetic, he's running in behind defenders, he's bullying them off the ball when it's a one-on-one confrontation, and his finishing has always been excellent, hasn't it? Well, I say it always. If you rule out the last 18 months at Manchester United, he's always been an excellent finisher. So he's back to his very best, and that's excellent to watch and really good boost for Inter.
Do you think it is time that we just did start actually referring to Conte as one of the very, very, very best managers in the world at the moment? Because he has got a ridiculous track record of success, hasn't he?
He has. I think the only caveat to that is it's in very limited circumstances, isn't it? He can come into a team that's underperforming bring that 3-5-2, get maximum effort and maximum contribution from everybody. But then, as we saw at Chelsea, as we saw at Juve, there's a ceiling on what he can achieve too. And I think it's no surprise that Max Allegri at Juve and Maurizio Sarri at Chelsea, although Sarri didn't win the league, they went much further in Europe, obviously winning the Europa League. I think there's always another manager who can come in and build on what Conte, the foundations that Conte builds, and can take them to the next level. I think that's probably the only thing for me that you would say holds him back from being in that elite. But if it comes to you want to turn around an underperforming big team and contend for the title, then yeah, he's your man, absolutely, isn't he?
And a quick word on Atalanta, once again sitting in the Champions League places. What makes them so good?
Again, the man on the bench, Gianpiero Gasparini, he's a bit like Conte, but 3-4-3 rather than 3-5-2. He gets his team pressing really high up the pitch, very cavalier in their approach, quite poor defensively if you can get the ball over the halfway line, but that's a task in and of itself. And he just gets everyone rowing in the same direction. He gets the fans on side. He gets everyone believing in what they're doing. They've started to rebuild their stadium so that they're playing back at home now for their home games rather than playing at Parma or Sassuolo. And that's a huge boost for them. Their fan base in Bergamo is very strong. I think the game against Manchester City on Tuesday is probably a bridge too far for a team of their stature, but they're a team who can cause an upset and a team who's not afraid to take it to the big boys. And they've had good results in the past. They beat Juventus twice last season, once in the league, once in the cup. So they're not afraid to be taken lightly by any means.
Great stuff, Adam. Really appreciate you joining us. Adam Digby, Italian football journalist, writer of Juventus: A History in Black and White. Great stuff. We are coming towards the final furlong of our show, Patrick. We've got a little bit to talk about. We're going to be going through Premier League predictions, so I just want to leave this with you for a minute or two so you can just consider
to ruminate.
Yes.
Ferment like a fine wine.
So rather than you giving your wild predictions with very little thought, you can actually put a little bit of thought into it this time.
I can absolutely promise you that I won't at all.
Okay.
That makes you feel better about things?
So you've got to put no thought in.
No thought whatsoever. No. You know me, mate. You know how this goes.
I do.
Very little thought, huge volume of opinions.
Why change a winning formula? 16 minutes to 10.
Last time I was in the UK, I met national treasure Mary Berry's grandmother, Elderberry.
Giving your team the coverage they deserve. Love Sport Radio.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Cancer. It can affect anyone. And when it does, Macmillan are right there to support them. From the moment of diagnosis, we offer physical, financial, and emotional support. And it's your donations that make it possible. So we can be on the phone, in hospitals, running support centers, and ready to help people deal with the fallout. We are funded by you, the public. So please give what you can at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support, right there with you.
There are fewer than 20 days to get ready for Brexit. Find out what you need to do to prepare now at gov.uk/Brexit.
Are you paying way too much for your energy bills? A spokesman said could help you save big money. With electricity costs continuing to rise, you could save hundreds of pounds by shopping around. Just go to aspokesmansaid.com and look for the very best value energy deals on the market. Don't waste your hard-earned cash. You could be on a much cheaper deal. Go to aspokesmansaid.com.
Fighting for you, saving you money.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. The final furlong, the final segment of the show. Then, of course, Martin Bell and Johnny Spurling are up after us for their brilliant show. So do stay tuned for that. We're, of course, back on Monday morning, 6:30, as per usual. Right, this time in the show, Friday, back end of the week. We've had a fantastic week. And now is the time that we predict the fixtures.
Okay.
This is where everyone's listening.
Well, we know what the fixtures are.
No,
We don't need to
sorry,
predict the fixtures, do
okay,
we?
but you're going to pick up on a word. They knew what I meant.
Sorry, it's the back
Now
end of
you've
the
made a
week.
big deal of it. We've got through this week without any physical altercations.
Yeah.
Look, we've got 10 more minutes,
All right,
basically.
all right.
Come on, let's do this. Let's do this.
Go facts.
Go facts. Right. So the fixtures are as follows. You've had a good look. You're ready to predict. Because people are at home. They've got their pens in hand.
Yeah.
They've got their paper there. They are ready to...
Well, what I'm about to say, you can take to the bank.
Be careful what you... Okay, fine. Right, let's go. Everton-West Ham, the early kickoff tomorrow. Tomorrow. How do you see that one playing out?
West Ham 2-1.
At Everton.
Yeah. Everton are rubbish.
That's the word you meant. Rubbish. Okay, let's move on to the 3 p.m s, shall we?
Sorry, everyone.
Aston Villa take on Brighton.
Aston Villa. I'm going to go 2-1 again, actually.
To
Villa.
Okay. Brighton have had a reasonably good start.
Yeah, but it's Brighton. Lads, it's Brighton. Villa have got Jack Grealish. Super Jack.
Okay, again, lots of thought is going into this, as you can tell. Take this to the bank.
Actually, hang on one second. Yeah. You're the footballer, right? Why aren't you doing the predictions? Why am I doing the predictions? I'm just a fat northerner who's into politics.
I'm glad we agree on that point. Look, what we'll do is you do the fixtures, then we'll come back to me, and then I'll actually give the the results that I think are actually going to happen.
Through this.
Let's do this. AFC Bournemouth Norwich.
3-0 Bournemouth.
Okay. Chelsea Newcastle.
Oh, Chelsea 3-1.
Okay. Leicester Burnley.
Oh, Leicester. Leicester 2-1.
Okay. Tottenham Watford.
It's gonna be a tricky one, this, because Spurs obviously should win, but Spurs 1-0.
Ooh, Wolves Southampton.
Wolves Southampton should be a good game. I am backing Wolves, and I reckon they are going to do the Saints 2-0.
Crystal Palace Man City in the late kickoff tomorrow.
Manchester City 8, Crystal Palace 1.
Okay, is that at Crystal Palace? That's a serious prediction.
Yeah,
bearing in mind
no, sorry, I just don't like Roy Hodgson.
Bearing in mind Palace,
he mugged
of course,
me off once in a press conference.
Tell me about that.
No. So I hope his side gets stuffed.
8-1. Okay, fair enough.
Sorry,
Palace did
fans.
beat City, of
Don't
course,
talk
last
to me
season.
about all that. Don't talk to me about all that. All right, I don't want to hear it.
8-1. Okay, what do you guys think? 0208 70 20 558. Will Man City win 8-1?
Yes.
I'll go through my predictions. So Everton West Ham, I think this is going to be a draw, 1-1. I think Villa will beat Brighton, 1-0. I think AFC Bournemouth will beat Norwich, 2-0. I think Chelsea Newcastle will be a draw, 1-1. I think Leicester Burnley will also be a draw, 1-1. I think Tottenham will beat Watford, unfortunately, but I think that'll be 3-1. I think Wolves are going to get the better of Southampton, 2-1. Crystal Palace Man City, 2-1 Man City.
Okay.
I think we're quite similar, actually, in some of those predictions, which is worrying for so many reasons.
I'm quite intrigued that you think Newcastle are going to get a result.
I've got a feeling after beating United, there'll be a little bit of belief. Chelsea, they've had a lot of players away on international duty. I think Chelsea defensively still aren't where they need to be. I think Newcastle, what I would say, is they're good at containing teams. I say this, and I'm sure I can be proven. It's very rare you go and see Newcastle get beaten really, really heavily. They seem to have a bit of grit about
How
them.
long is it? On a genuinely serious note, right? Because Steve Bruce's stock is rising, actually, because everyone appreciates the fact that if Newcastle crashed and burned and went down, it almost definitely isn't really his fault, right? He can't help the fact that he's not Rafa, and he can't help the fact that the club is in turmoil. He can't help the fact that his playing squad isn't that good. But, you know, that result against United, he goes and gets a result against Chelsea. Let's just say he keeps them up, but not only keeps them up, he finishes 12th. Let's just say they finish 12th. Do you reckon like some bigger teams actually start coming in for Steve Bruce?
I don't know. I mean, the narrative around Rafa Benitez worked brilliantly for Rafa Benitez.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. This time last season, let's not forget, I think Newcastle won 2 points.
Yeah.
You know, and in the end, they got there. But it wasn't like they played incredible football. It wasn't like under Rafa they were playing this. They weren't. But he was seen as this world-class manager coming into Newcastle. This is how I see it. A world-class manager coming into Newcastle who did get the best out of the squad that he had. They didn't play particularly attractive football, but people were okay with that as long as they kept him in the league. I think a lot of it is, again, like Steve Bruce has come in on the back foot. He is the lowest paid manager in the Premier League. It was seen as a bit of an underwhelming signing for Newcastle. Now, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good example because really Newcastle wanted Rafa. They didn't want anyone else. Like, I don't think any manager that comes in there, even if it was Jose Mourinho, he would have come in on the back foot. I don't think there was a manager that would have come in and they would have really taken that kindly to. unless maybe it was an Alan Shearer. But of course, even an Alan Shearer didn't have a particularly positive time there.
So, can I just say, Alan Shearer, I think, is one of the least inspiring individuals that the world has ever seen.
You can say it.
If you want someone to give a rallying battle cry just before you go in, and he's not your man, is he? He is. He's like watching paint dry, Alan Shearer.
I mean, what do you guys think? 0208 1720. Would
Like
you
a
rather watch?
Geordie egg.
If you had a choice of watching paint dry or listening to Alan Shearer, what would you? Maybe we'll put a poll
Let's run
out.
a poll on that. I actually reckon most people would rather watch paint dry than listen to Alan Shearer.
Right. My point being, and he didn't have a particularly good time, obviously, there. My point being, while Mike Ashley's in charge, Rafa Benitez was going to be the only popular choice. So it's irrelevant whether it's Steve Bruce or someone else. Also, if they do finish 12th, they're probably going to need to finish higher than that. But if they do finish 12th, does suddenly have a load of other Premier League clubs wanting him? No. Because, again, they're not going to do it in a fashion whereby, like an Eddie Howe, where you watch it and you think, oh, OK, I can see what you're trying to do here. This is quite a forward-thinking way of playing football. He's not going to have that desirability, so I don't think it necessarily means his stock grows to that point. But what it will do is certainly give him even more credibility than he's got.
Everton.
Again, Everton, I don't know. Do you know what a lot of it isn't?
Steve Bruce has got a bit of an Everton feel about him, mate.
You reckon?
I reckon.
You see, I think Everton would be more of a. I'd love to see a Sean Dyche, because I think that the difference between a Sean Dyche and Sean Dyche and Steve Bruce, you could argue that neither of them play a style of football, a brand of football that maybe an Everton would want. But the big difference is that Dyche's younger. Now, right or wrong, Steve Bruce has been there. He's done it over and over. And I think people get tired of seeing these same managers take up similar posts. And it's that question, well, look, you didn't necessarily do it at the highest level before. What makes the difference you coming to us?
I'd like to see Eduardo Housini at Manchester United, to be perfectly honest with you. I think the guy's an absolute revelation. He's young, he's good, he's got the best out of. He's also got a good eye for a player, hasn't he? He's picked up players there that people wouldn't have expected to go and make it.
By the way, let's not forget he struggled at Burnley. I mean, this is it where it's always so hard to predict. He went to Burnley, struggled, came back to Bournemouth, and of course he's done brilliantly well. And you're right, that style of football. The thing with the United, again, it comes back to the character. Look, Solskjaer's on the back page every day. They're giving him a vote of confidence every day, seemingly, at the moment. So this is why you'll tend to find it will be like an Allegri, or it will be a Pochettino, or somebody that's been there or thereabouts. This is why Solskjaer was such a surprise.
Yeah, fair play. Well, we'll have to see how that one pans out against Liverpool.
Indeed. Well, let's just touch on some of the big stories today. Of course, there's a big game this weekend in the rugby, a massive game in the rugby. George Ford misses out, which is the big story, but England do take on Australia. We touched on it there. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has had another vote of confidence of sorts. Woodward says he'll keep faith with him, says he's insulted to suggest that non-football people make footballing decisions at United. Pochettino gave a very positive press conference, and made it clear that with the current squad, they can still achieve something this season. Another one we haven't touched too much on today, but we'll just touch on now, the festive day fixtures, the Boxing Day fixtures. Of course, City are the only team that are playing on the 27th. Their next game after that's on the 29th. So they've only got a 48-hour break between games. Liverpool, on the other hand, have a 72-hour break. I know Pep's not overly happy about this.
No, it's actually a 46-hour break when you look at the time the game's finished. So it is 2 fixtures in under 2 days. And that, by anyone's stretch of the imagination, is pretty poor. Then you've got the Liverpool fans who've got to make it back from Leicester on Boxing Day at 10:30 in the evening. You think about it, it's great now for the armchair fan, but it's not good for the match-going fan. And it's a really weird thing, this. Do you, as a match-going fan, just accept that although you should be, you're just not the priority anymore? Because most people are watching it on the telly, right? Most people want to sit in the comfort of their own homes and do that. And therefore, your 50,000 of you if you're at home, say, or 5,000 of you if you're away, as far as organisers of football are concerned now, you are an afterthought. And I know it's a horrible thing to say, but you are. Do you just accept it and suck it up and get that train back, or whatever it is, the bus back from Leicester to Liverpool at 10:30, accept that that's you now? Or do you complain? Because you're not going to change anything.
Yeah. Something else to touch on today, of course, big story, front pages. You spoke a lot about Boris Johnson. You're very pleased with the potential of that.
I am.
The big game this week, and I touched on it there, is very much in the rugby. It seems a war of words has been replaced with a war of banter ahead of England's clash with Australia. Australia's former Leicester player, Matt Tamuha, has given an insight into some of his old English teammates, including Ben Youngs, who hit back.
Mano's a terrible snooker player. George Ford never pays for a beer. Ben Youngs isn't even the best rugby player in his family.
He's very happy with himself because he sent me the video clip. I thought it was quite ironic.
he knows what it's like to play second fiddle, especially being married to Elise Perry, so he knows my pain.
You enjoy that one?
Oh, that was a good one. Good lad. I like that.
Well, there you go.
I think we should introduce just the Banter Olympics. Banter should become an Olympic sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have Richard Keys on what? No. I've thought it out now. You can't do that. No, but seriously, they should, because that was really good.
Why wouldn't you have Richard Keys for?
It was banter.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I hear you now. I think you'd do very well at this.
For a period of time until I inevitably get sent to prison. Yes.
Yeah. It's that line. It's that line, isn't it? You tend to cross
it. Yeah.
On that note, it's been a great week, as always. Do appreciate it, Patrick. Do appreciate producer Kieran. And thank you guys for listening. We will be back Monday, 6:30, but do stay tuned. The brilliant Martin Bell, Johnny Spurling are up right after this.
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving,